Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
Looks like it isn't easy to defeat the Earth Bear, even for Duan Ling Tian. Luo Zhan sighed. Yeah, I never imagined that the Earth Bear's defense was actually so terrifying like this. Chen Xiaoshui deeply agreed. In the air above the caged battle arena, the eyes of the old man that presided over the arena revealed slight surprise. Duan Ling Tian is really as terrifying as the rumors say. At such a young age, his cultivation has stepped into the fourth level of the void prying stage and has even comprehended two types of half-step advanced force. It's truly shocking. Duan Ling Tian had shocked the old man. Roar! Although Duan Ling Tian's Tempest Point was unable to injure the Earth Bear, it had successfully enraged it. The Earth Bear raised its head to look at Duan Ling Tian as it emitted an enraged roar that was angry to the extreme, and its pair of scarlet-red eyes even didn't contain the slightest feelings. Bang! Under the gazes of everyone present, the forepaws of the Earth Bear abruptly stomped on the ground, and its body that was enormous like a mountain charged into the sky. Whoosh! Although the Earth Bear's body was enormous, its speed wasn't slow in the slightest, and it seemed to have transformed into a giant cannonball as it fiercely blasted towards Duan Ling Tian. Its pair of sharp fangs even flickered with a ghastly and cold sheen, and it seemed as if it could penetrate everything. It could be imagined that if Duan Ling Tian was struck by this Earth Bear's fangs, his body would surely have two savage bloody holes penetrated in his body. Humph! When faced with the Earth Bear's fangs that were suffused with half-step advanced Earth force and possessed raging origin energy, Duan Ling Tian's gaze went slightly cold and didn't have the slightest fear. Whirlwind. Duan Ling Tian's body moved with the wind and moved to intercept the Earth Bear while accompanied by a wave of the sound of muffled thunder. When the Earth Bear left the ground, it's equivalent to abandoning the advantage of the Earth force, and it's unable to draw support from the energy of the Earth. Duan Ling Tian knew clearly in his heart that once the Earth Bear left the ground, it was equivalent to giving up the strength of 300 ancient mammoths. Presently, it was charging over, and accompanying it to charge over was only 6,500 ancient mammoth silhouettes in the sky. Tempest Point. Duan Ling Tian's hands moved out together as he pointed out with two fingers, and his targets were straight towards the Earth Bear's fangs. Swish, swish. The point force of the Tempest Point twined around Duan Ling Tian's fingers, and it was as if he was assisted by the god as he moved, intending to collide head-on with the Earth Bear's fangs. Roar! The Earth Bear let out an enraged roar once again, and the origin energy barrier appeared on its body once again, and arising along with it was the half-step advanced Earth force. Obviously, it wanted to repeat the same move and obstruct Duan Ling Tian's Tempest Point. Do you think that you'll be as fortunate as before? The corners of Duan Ling Tian's mouth curled into a cold smile. His fingers pointed out, and the Tempest Point's point force that was twined on his two fingers suddenly vibrated intensely. The frequency of the vibrations grew higher and higher. Quake energy at the extreme. Earlier, if I used the quake energy at the extreme, the defensive light barrier that was fueled by the strength of 6,800 ancient mammoth silhouettes might not be able to defend against it. Let alone now. Disdain emerged in Duan Ling Tian's heart. It was disdain towards the Earth Bear. The fearsomeness of the quake energy at the extreme was something that only people who'd experienced it themselves would know. Wham! Wham! The frequency of the vibration of the Tempest Point was increased to the limit. Finally, Duan Ling Tian's two fingers collided with the Earth Bear's pair of fangs. In the eyes of the outsiders, Duan Ling Tian's physique was utterly unable to be compared with the Earth Bear. The length of a single fang of the Earth Bear was able to compare to Duan Ling Tian's height. Has this Duan Ling Tian gone mad? When they saw Duan Ling Tian wanted to face the Earth Bear that charged over head-on, many spectators couldn't help but shake their heads. They all felt that Duan Ling Tian was overestimating himself. This fellow, Duan Ling Tian, is truly a madman. Chen Xiaoshui and Luo Zhan glanced at each other, and they both saw shock in each other's eyes. Courting death. When Zhang Heng saw this scene, the corners of his mouth revealed a smile of ridicule that was filled with delight. At this moment, He seemed to have already seen the scene of Duan Ling Tian's body being pierced by the fangs of the earth bear. Bang! Bang! Two ear-piercing sounds suddenly sounded out and entered into the ears of everyone in the caged battle arena. How could this be possible? He actually broke the earth bear's defense. A wave of astonished voices sounded out in the caged battle arena, and they rose and fell. In the sky above the caged battle arena, Duan Ling Tian pointed out with his two fingers, and the two tempest points had actually directly broken off the earth bear's fangs. Not only that, everyone clearly saw that along with Duan Ling Tian's fingers continuing forward, the earth bear's fangs shattered and transformed into nothingness in the end. Pooh! Pooh! In next to no time, Duan Ling Tian's fingers fiercely pierced into the earth bear's skull. Ow! The earth bear let out a deafening shrill cry, and its enormous body started vibrating intensely. Crack, crack! The clear sounds of bones breaking and shattering sounded out without end. The grievous howls of the earth bear gradually became lower, then completely vanished in the end. Under the gazes of everyone present, the earth bear's scarlet eyes were spread wide open as its enormous figure crashed onto the ground and fiercely plunged onto the arena. Subsequently, a tremor shook out in the entire arena, whereas the earth bear was completely devoid of any signs of life. It was dead. The surroundings of the arena was deathly silent. The gazes of everyone sometimes descended onto the enormous body of the dead earth bear and sometimes shot at the sky above the arena. In the sky above the arena, a violet-clothed young man stood proudly in the air. Drip, drip. On the pair of index fingers he'd casually placed at his sides, numerous drops of dazzling fresh blood slowly dripped down. That was the blood of the earth bear. At this moment, everyone at the scene felt a chill run down their spines. How did he do it? In the sky above the arena, the old man who was in charge of presiding over the caged battles was completely dumbstruck. The scene from before was something that even he had never expected. He originally thought that even if the earth bear didn't rely on drawing support from the energy of the earth, Duan Ling Tian would absolutely be unable to break open its defense. But the facts proved that he'd overestimated the earth bear. No. It ought to be said that he'd underestimated Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian's strength had exceeded his imagination. Abnormal. Luo Zhan's hand that held on the armrest of the chair shook, and the armrest was forcefully broken off by him. Freak! Chun Xiaoshuai's figure stiffened. Although the two of them were filled with confidence towards Duan Ling Tian since the beginning, after they witnessed the terrifying defense of the earth bear, they were both slightly lacking in confidence and doubtful. They doubted if Duan Ling Tian was really able to kill the earth bear and win this caged battle. The facts proved that they were thinking too much. The earth bear was nothing to Duan Ling Tian. No, impossible. How could this be possible? Zhang Heng ceaselessly shook his head, and he was unwilling to believe that the scene before his eyes was real. Duan Ling Tian's strength was actually terrifying to this extent. Before him, the earth bear was actually like a piece of paper, and it was unbelievable. As expected of the figure that's able to suppress the five great young master, he's extraordinary as expected. The old man behind Zhang Heng gasped, and he looked at Duan Ling Tian with eyes that were filled with fear. Duan Ling Tian has won. I bet on Duan Ling Tian. I've earned a lot of money this time. K. I thought the earth bear was so formidable, but I never expected that Duan Ling Tian would kill it with his second move. To think that I bet so much money on the earth bear. I almost bet on the earth bear as well. The crowd of spectators on the spectating areas had mixed thoughts. Of course, there were even more people who stood up in excitement and cheered for Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian, nice. As expected of the most monstrous genius martial artist in the history of our Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, he deserves his reputation. The presence of Duan Ling Tian in the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom is truly the good fortune of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. The group of spectators didn't stint with their praise in the slightest, whereas Duan Ling Tian instead didn't care much about all this. What he cared about was the blood of the Scarlet Phoenix, the mysterious blood that the old man who presided over the arena spoke of. Senior. Duan Ling Tian looked at the old man that was still staring blankly and took the initiative to remind him. The old man recovered from his shock and glanced at Duan Ling Tian with a complicated gaze. Then he raised his hand and passed over the drop of fiery red blood to Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian, congratulations. Thank you, Senior. Duan Ling Tian received the fiery red blood and kept it into his spatial ring as if he's obtained a precious treasure. He exerted great effort to suppress the excitement in his heart. After he obtained the Scarlet Phoenix blood, Duan Ling Tian left the arena and returned to the seating area. Everywhere he passed, the mass of spectators saluted him with their eyes. Humph! Only that Zhang Heng's face was extremely gloomy, and a ruthless sheen flashed within his eyes. Squeak, squeak. The little gold mouse transformed into a gold light when she saw Duan Ling Tian return, and she was extremely joyous when she descended onto Duan Ling Tian's shoulder. It was as if she was happy for Duan Ling Tian because he was victorious in the cage battle. Duan Ling Tian, you really have ability. That earth bear's defensive strength was so terrifying, yet it was directly broken by you. Luo Zhan sighed with emotion. Looks like you've been holding back when you spar with us normally. Chen Xiao Shui glanced deeply at Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian smiled lightly and didn't say anything further. Presently, all his thoughts were on that drop of Scarlet Phoenix blood. The Scarlet Phoenix blood was able to be refined into a rebirth pill, whereas a rebirth pill was a type of extremely overbearing medicinal pill. During the Rebirth Martial Emperor's first lifetime, he only possessed the strength to stand proudly before all the martial emperors in Cloud Continent after consuming the rebirth pill. Most importantly, there was no restriction in cultivation to consume the rebirth pill. Duan Ling Tian took a deep breath, and his mood surged extremely. If I'm able to successfully refine the rebirth pill before the martial competition of the 10 dynasties and consume it, why would I need to worry about being unable to compete with the young geniuses of the various dynasties? A burning sheen appeared in Duan Ling Tian's eyes, and his eyes were filled with yearning. The caged battles within the arena continued. Numerous fierce beasts, demon beast, and slaves entered the arena one by one. They either fought each other or fought the people that entered the arena, and it was utterly wonderful. Amongst them, there was a third-level void prying stage slave that entered the arena, and Sword Young Master had entered the arena to have a cage battle with him. Presently, Sword Young Master's cultivation had already broken through to the third level of the void prying stage, and he was merely a level inferior to Duan Ling Tian and Crazy Young Master. Even though he was unable to use a spirit weapon, the 3-foot-long sword light that Sword Young Master condensed on his finger, combined with the half-step advanced sword force he'd comprehended, was capable of destroying any obstacle. The third-level void prying stage slave was killed by him in a single move, and he'd obtained the corresponding reward. This Sword Young Master is stronger than that Crazy Young Master? Zhang Heng's pupils constricted. Because Luo Zhan only used a cultivation at the second level of the void prying stage when he attacked Zhang Heng earlier, Zhang Heng determined that Luo Zhan's cultivation was inferior to Sword Young Master. At the same time, Zhang Heng didn't forget to mock Crazy Young Master. What first ranked amongst the 5 great young masters? You're even inferior to Sword Young Master. Undeserved reputation. When Zhang Heng's voice sounded out, it caused both Duan Ling Tian and Sword Young Master to be unable to refrain from being stunned. Then the both of them smiled as they glanced at Luo Zhan. Haha, Crazy Young Master, did you hear? You're inferior to me. Chen Xiao Shui spoke slightly complacently. I'm inferior to you? Want to try? Battle intent leaped about in Luo Zhan's eyes as he spoke indifferently. Chen Xiao Shui angrily rolled his eyes at Luo Zhan when he heard this. If you want to try, then try with Duan Ling Tian. You're 2 years older to me at any rate. Is it worth taking pride in your cultivation being superior to mine? Time flowed silently by. In next to no time, a 4th-level void prying stage slave entered into the arena. This time, Luo Zhan left his seat impatiently, and this caused Duan Ling Tian and Chen Xiao Shui to be unable to help but look at each other and smile. They were able to perceive that as the Crazy Young Master, and as the one ranked at the top of the 5 great young masters, Luo Zhan had his own arrogance. Now, he wanted to use actions to fiercely slap Zhang Heng's face. He wanted to let Zhang Heng know of his true strength. Whereas when Zhang Heng saw Luo Zhan sash out, and the 6,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes that dashed out with him in the sky, he was completely dumbstruck. He actually concealed his cultivation. Zhang Heng's expression was unsightly, as he suddenly felt that he was like a clown earlier. Only the group of spectators in the spectating area weren't surprised. Crazy Young Master was the top figure amongst the 5 great young masters of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, after all. Presently, Sword Young Master had already broken through to the 3rd level of the Void Prying stage, so Crazy Young Master breaking through to the 4th level of the Void Prying stage wasn't surprising at all. Crazy Young Master. Crazy Young Master. On the spectating area that surrounded the area, the group of spectators stood up excitedly as they cheered loudly. As the figure who was the top figure amongst the 5 great young masters, Crazy Young Master had been famous for a long time, and the people that admired him were innumerable. Whereas at this moment, Luo Zhan walked into the arena. When the 4th level Void Prying stage slave saw Luo Zhan stand before him, boundless scarlet red appeared in his eyes. Crazy Young Master, I'll kill you. The slave's voice was hoarse and mixed with ruthlessness, and it was like a demon beast that had opened its bloody mouth and was waiting for a chance to swallow Luo Zhan up. That will depend on if you have the ability. Luo Zhan spoke indifferently, and he completely disregarded the words of the slave. Huh. Suddenly, the slave shouted out explosively. Then his figure flashed like the wind, and he seemed to have transformed into an eagle that shot towards Luo Zhan. He seemed as if he wanted to tear Luo Zhan in half. When this slave attacked, besides raging origin energy, there were strands of light azure-colored energy mixed within the claw image that covered the sky. In the sky, 6,200 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form. 4th level of the Void Prying stage. Elementary Wind Force. The claw moved with the wind with extreme speed, and it was shocking. Of course, the swiftness of this speed was only towards ordinary martial artists. In the eyes of Luo Zhan, this slave's speed was nothing. Bang! With a raise of his hand, Luo Zhan's origin energy skyrocketed and a punch shot out. On Luo Zhan's fist, a strand of origin energy that had condensed into form stabbed out, and it seemed to have transformed into a 7-foot spear light. Luo Zhan precisely used spears. Now that he was unable to use a spirit weapon spear, it was unavoidable for him to reveal the characteristics of the spear when he attacked. Whoosh! Luo Zhan's perfectly straight punch smashed out, and it was like a WIRM leaving its cave. Whereas the 7-foot-long spear light that flashed out from his fist had strands of red-colored energy, and threads of scorching aura were suffused within the red energy. Fire Force. In the sky, another 500 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared beside the existing 6,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes. Obviously, Luo Zhan had comprehended half-step advanced fire force. After exchanging blows, Luo Zhan's fist smashed out as if it was assisted by the gods, and the 7-foot spear light flashed out to pierce through the chest of the slave, causing blood to spurt out. Bang! The corpse of the slave fell down, and it was completely devoid of any signs of life. Luo Zhan victorious. Instantly, a wave of cheering was set off in the surroundings of the arena, as expected. I knew that Crazy Young Master wouldn't lose. Although the betting ratio on Crazy Young Master wasn't high, I put my entire wealth on Crazy Young Master and have earned quite a bit. As expected of the top figure amongst the 5 great young masters of our Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, he has a well-deserved reputation. Crazy Young Master, nice. The spectators all around the spectating area were extremely excited. Besides some spectators that wanted to win from an unexpected winner, the remaining spectators in the cage battle arena had all bet on Crazy Young Master if they did bet. All of them earned a great sum. The reward Luo Zhan obtained was a weapons refinement material that could be considered to be valuable. But, to Duan Ling Tian, this weapons refinement material was only valuable in the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. Not to mention the foreign lands. Even if it was in the Darkhan Dynasty, this material would probably not be considered to be a rare item. But Luo Zhan was as if he'd obtained a priceless treasure. Humph. When Luo Zhan returned, He intentionally stopped on the way and glanced contemptuously at Zhang Heng. I wonder if Little Prince is willing to enter the arena for a match with a person who has an undeserved reputation like me. You? You. Zhang Heng's face went gloomy. He pointed at Luo Zhan as his entire body started trembling, yet he just happened to have no way to refute. He wouldn't dare enter the arena with Luo Zhan. What a joke. Not to mention Luo Zhan's true cultivation was at the 4th level of the void prying stage. Even if Luo Zhan was only a 2nd level void prying stage martial artist, Luo Zhan was still not someone that he could go against. Pu ***** Y. After Luo Zhan slowly spat out a word, he returned to Duan Ling Tian and Chun Xiaoshuai's side. This angered Zhang Heng to the point he almost went mad with rage. When Duan Ling Tian and Chun Xiaoshuai saw this scene, they couldn't refrain from laughing, as neither of them had a good impression of Zhang Heng. The caged battles in the arena continued. The disposition of this slave is formed naturally. Looks like he wasn't an ordinary person before he was reduced into a slave. Suddenly, Chen Xiaoshuai looked at the slave that appeared in the arena and was slightly surprised as he spoke. Indeed, this person's birth is surely not ordinary. Luo Zhan nodded as he spoke. The words of the two of them caused Duan Ling Tian to be unable to refrain from looking over curiously. With just a glance, Duan Ling Tian's pupils suddenly constricted. In the arena, a slave with a slightly tall figure stood there. This was a young man with disheveled hair that hung loosely on his shoulders. His eyes were lusterless, and the brand that belonged to a slave was obvious. A single word was branded, Song. Bang! Duan Ling Tian's hand shook and the armrest of his seat was directly broken off. Duan Ling Tian, what's wrong? Meanwhile, Luo Zhan and Chun Xiaoshuai noticed something was off with Duan Ling Tian. They noticed that Duan Ling Tian's gaze stared fixedly at that slave, and his face revealed excitement. Duan Ling Tian, you know him? Chun Xiaoshuai was stunned. Then he asked. Yes. Duan Ling Tian nodded. His body lightly trembled as he was excited to the extreme. He never imagined that he would be able to see him here. Right at this moment, a laugh of ridicule sounded out. Zhang Heng heard the conversation between Duan Ling Tian's group, and he said with a laugh of ridicule, I truly never imagined that you, Duan Ling Tian, had a trash slave like this as a friend. As expected, birds of a feather flocked together. Trash slave? Zhang Heng's words was like a fuse that completely lit up Duan Ling Tian's flames of rage. Whoosh! Duan Ling Tian instantly stood up from his seat. Bang! Because of the force exerted from his legs, the tiles on the floor were forcefully shattered, and Duan Ling Tian's rage could be understood from this. Whoosh! Instantly, Duan Ling Tian transformed into a gust of wind that arrived before Zhang Heng. Duan Ling Tian's hand stretched out like a bolt of lightning, and before Zhang Heng reacted, Duan Ling Tian had choked Zhang Heng's neck like an eagle grabbing a chick, and Duan Ling Tian held Zhang Heng up forcefully. Say it one more time. Duan Ling Tian's eyes were scarlet red and was filled with killing intent that seemed to be waiting to swallow Zhang Heng up. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian seemed to have transformed into a bloodthirsty wild beast. He'd completely gone mad. Zhang Heng was muddled. Never had he imagined that a single sentence from him would be able to cause Duan Ling Tian to have a reaction like this. Did I say something wrong? At this moment, Zhang Heng's throat was choked by Duan Ling Tian, and he wanted to resist, yet his origin energy had only just risen when it was suppressed by Duan Ling Tian's origin energy. Zhang Heng's countenance gradually flushed red. Ping! Elder Ping, save me! Zhang Heng cried for help from the old man by his side. Meanwhile, the old man had recovered from his shock as well, and his expression went gloomy as he shouted out in a stern voice. Duan Ling Tian, let the little prince down. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless. However, Duan Ling Tian instead seemed as if he entirely didn't hear the old man's words, and he paid no attention to the old man. Listen properly. He isn't a trash slave. The blood red in Duan Ling Tian's eyes was bewitching and extremely evil, and he spoke word by word. Now, no matter if it was Luo Zhan and Chun Xiaoshuai who'd rushed over, Zhang Heng, or the old man by Zhang Heng's side, they finally understood why Duan Ling Tian would be so agitated. So it turned out that it was because of the way Zhang Heng addressed the slave in the arena. Duan Ling Tian, I don't care what relationship you have with that slave, but if you dare do anything to the little prince, then that slave is dead. The old man threatened with a cold voice. What did you say? Duan Ling Tian slowly turned around and looked at the old man, and the killing intent on his body shot into the sky and had reached the limits of killing intent. The old man felt a chill run down his spine when he was enveloped by Duan Ling Tian's killing intent. It was difficult for him to imagine how such a young man could possess such a terrifying killing intent. But he still took a deep breath and said with a low voice, I said, if you don't let go of the little prince, that slave is dead. Little Gold, Duan Ling Tian suddenly shouted out in a grim voice. I want him dead. I want him dead. Duan Ling Tian's voice wasn't concealed in the slightest. It clearly spread throughout the caged battle arena, and it drew the gazes of everyone. Subsequently, the people present only saw a gold light flash out, and accompanying the gold light was an extremely tiny sword light that flashed by. In the next moment, the throat of the old man that was still holding his head high a moment ago had split open. Dazzling fresh blood spurted out and splashed all over Zhang Heng's face. Silence. Deathly silence. Not a sound could be heard in the entire caged battle arena. The gazes of everyone gathered onto the same place, the spectating area in the south. At that place, an old man had fallen in a pool of blood, and he was completely devoid of any signs of life. What's going on? Many people didn't see what happened clearly. Only some of the spectators in the southern spectating area knew the sequence of events. Squeak, squeak, a gold-colored figure slowly descended onto Duan Ling Tian's shoulder. It was precisely the little gold mouse. Presently, the little gold mouse held a pocket-sized spirit sword in her hand, and drop after drop of blood dropped down from above, and it was dazzling and resplendent. Hiss, 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 hiss. The crowd of people on the southern spectating area couldn't help but gasp. The one that attacked and killed the old man earlier was this little gold mouse. Before this, they'd noticed that crazy young master, Luo Zhan, who sat at the front of the spectating area, had once come into conflict with the old man who was killed. At that time, the old man revealed a cultivation at the 9th level of the void prying stage, and it was also at that time that they knew the old man was a member of Prince Sheng's estate. Whereas the young man in embroidered clothes that was beside the old man was the little prince of Prince Sheng's estate, Zhang Heng. Earlier, the scene of Duan Ling Tian suddenly attacking and choking Zhang Heng's throat before lifting him up had already caused them to be dumbstruck. Later on, they found out that the reason Duan Ling Tian had attacked was because Zhang Heng had insulted the slave in the arena. Duan Ling Tian seemed to know that slave. Moreover, based on Duan Ling Tian's loss of composure, his relationship with the slave was obviously deep. Most unbelievable to them was still the death of the old man from Prince Sheng's estate. Duan Ling Tian shouted out explosively. Then subsequently, the old man was dead. What demon beast is this? Too terrifying. I utterly didn't clearly see how many ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed in the sky at the instant it attacked. It attacked too quickly. I didn't see it clearly as well. I truly never imagined that such a harmless-looking little gold mouse actually possesses such a terrifying strength. This little gold mouse is obviously a formidable demon beast, and it's even to the extent it's very likely a void initiation stage demon beast. In the southern spectating area, a single stone raised 1,000 ripples, and it was in a complete uproar. Whereas the statement that Duan Ling Tian had a void initiation stage demon beast by his side spread out, and it spread throughout the entire caged battle arena. For a time, most people looked at Duan Ling Tian with gazes filled with reverence. You dare kill Elder Ping. A hoarse voice sounded out from the mouth of Zhang Heng, whose neck was held up by Duan Ling Tian. I'll kill you as well if you dare say another word. Duan Ling Tian's blood-red eyes stared fixedly at Zhang Heng, causing Zhang Heng to obediently shut his mouth as slight terror appeared on his face. Whereas at this moment, the band that held Duan Ling Tian's long hair had suddenly broke open. His hair fluttered without the wind. As he stood there, he gazed the people nearby, a shapeless feeling of pressure. Trash. Duan Ling Tian looked at Zhang Heng and spat out a single word in disdain. Subsequently, he used force in his hand to throw Zhang Heng out. Bang! Zhang Heng fell to the ground in a story state, and he fell with his face on the floor. You. Zhang Heng struggled to stand up, his eyes crimson red from anger, yet he didn't dare say another word as he hurriedly soared up into the sky to leave the spectating area. It was unknown to where he'd gone. Duan Ling Tian couldn't be bothered to pay attention to Zhang Heng, and he brought along the little gold mouse to walk step by step towards the arena. At this moment, the gazes of most people were fixed onto Duan Ling Tian, and their gazes moved along with every step of Duan Ling Tian's. Duan Ling Tian seemed as if he'd gone down the path of a devil. Let's follow him and see what happens. Luo Zhan and Chun Xiao Shui looked at each other in the eye, then followed up with slight worry. After a short moment, Duan Ling Tian arrived before the enormous iron cage that covered the arena. Open it. Duan Ling Tian's icy cold gaze shot at the nearby worker that was in charge of opening the iron cage. But although this worker was afraid of Duan Ling Tian, he didn't dare make any rash movements. Because he knew that if he opened the iron cage arbitrarily, he would surely be unable to escape punishment. Little goal. Duan Ling Tian's face sank, and he shouted out coldly. This cold shout caused the arena worker's face to go deathly pale. Earlier, before the old man of the Prince Sheng's estate died, Duan Ling Tian had precisely called out this name. He was in charge of the opening of the iron cage at the side of the southern spectating area, and he'd clearly seen the scene from before. Swish! The little gold mouse on Duan Ling Tian's shoulder attacked. A sword light that was exceedingly swift flashed past before the little gold mouse stopped moving. Whereas a door was forcefully cut open on the iron cage before Duan Ling Tian, and it was large enough to accommodate Duan Ling Tian's entry and exit. Even though the iron cage that enveloped the arena was made of thousand-year dark iron and was able to confine void-prying stage martial artists and demon beasts that didn't possess spirit weapons to rely on. But once a void-prying stage martial artist or demon beast utilized a spirit weapon, they were able to break open this iron cage made of thousand-year dark iron. Only the sound of Duan Ling Tian's footsteps could be heard in the silent caged battle arena. His heavy footsteps walked step by step into the arena. In the arena, the gaze of the slave with long hair that hung loosely on his shoulders shot at Duan Ling Tian. Although it was slightly dirty, but the face beneath his disheveled hair possessed a handsome appearance that was difficult to conceal. As the slave stood there, he faintly revealed a trace of an extraordinary disposition. This 7th-level nascent soul stage slave was obviously of extraordinary background. Finally, the slave opened his mouth and spoke. Duan, junior brother Duan Ling Tian. The slave's voice was hoarse and excited. Senior brother Zheng Song. Duan Ling Tian walked up quickly and opened his arms to embrace the slave, and crimson red suffused within his eyes. Zheng Song. Exactly. The slave that stood before Duan Ling Tian now was no one else but the son of the former 7-star sword sect's Mizar Peak's master, Zheng Fan, the inner court disciple who had a good relationship with Duan Ling Tian, Zheng Song. Good. Zheng Song tightly held onto Duan Ling Tian, and his body trembled intensely as he was extremely excited. Senior brother Zheng Song, you're alive. Duan Ling Tian's voice was filled with excitement. Meanwhile, Luo Zhan and Chun Xiao Shui, who followed up, had roughly guessed Zheng Song's identity. A person that was able to be called senior brother by Duan Ling Tian was most probably a disciple of the former 7-star sword sect. Moreover, based on this Zheng Song's disposition, he was obviously of extraordinary birth. That slave called Duan Ling Tian as junior brother? Duan Ling Tian called him senior brother? Meanwhile, some of the spectators on the spectating area with comparatively higher cultivations had heard the conversation between Duan Ling Tian and Zheng Song. No wonder Duan Ling Tian was so enraged. So it turns out that this slave is his senior brother. Looks like that slave is a disciple of the former 7-star sword sect. In next to no time, many people guessed Zheng Song's origins. Senior brother Zheng Song, come, we'll go look for a place for you to wash up and get a change of clothes. Duan Ling Tian grabbed onto Zheng Song's hand and wanted to take him away. Zheng Song, the son of the Mizar Peak's master, has helped him quite a lot in the past. Zheng Fan had similarly given Duan Ling Tian a good deal of help and had even put his life on the line to help Duan Ling Tian leave when the Seven-Star Sword sect was about to be annihilated. Duan Ling Tian would forever be unable to forget this friendship. Today, when he saw Zheng Song was alive, he was extremely excited in his heart. Junior brother Duan Ling Tian. I'm only a slave now. Zheng Song had a bitter expression on his face as he spoke slowly. This caged battle arena is a business under the name of the Prince Sheng's estate, and it possesses countless ties with the imperial family of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. Don't offend the Prince Sheng's estate because of me. I've already offended them earlier. It doesn't matter now. Duan Ling Tian shrugged, and he had an indifferent expression as he pulled Zheng Song and turned around, intending to leave. Duan Ling Tian. Finally, the old man in the sky above the arena that was in charge of presiding over the arena had recovered from his shock, and he shouted out in a grim voice to stop Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian raised his head to look at the old man with a calm gaze. Senior, this is my senior brother, a disciple of the Seven-Star Sword sect. I want to take him away today. You ought to not stop me, right? Presumptuous. The old man shouted out coldly. Duan Ling Tian, what sort of place do you take our caged battle arena to be? I don't care what identity he had in the past, but since he has become a slave of our caged battle arena, then dead or alive, he's a member of the caged battle arena. You killed a revered elder of our Prince Sheng's estate earlier, and members of our Prince Sheng's estate will ask you for an explanation. But at this moment, there's no way that you're taking away a slave of my caged battle arena. As the old man spoke, the origin energy on his body raged, and a terrifying, imposing manner swept out. Whoosh! In the sky above the old man, two enormous figures condensed into form, and they wriggled as they descended. It was precisely two ancient horned dragon silhouettes. First-level void initiation stage. Instantly, Luo Zhan and Chun Xiao Shui, who followed behind Duan Ling Tian, went grim. They never expected that the old man who was in charge of presiding over the arena actually possessed such terrifying strength. Although the 9th level of the Void Prying stage and the 1st level of the Void Initiation stage were only a step away, in terms of strength, it was instead the difference between heaven and earth. Compared to the 9th level of the Void Prying stage, besides a qualitative change occurring in the origin energy, the 1st level of the Void Prying stage meant that the martial artist had surely comprehended concept. Concept was the extension and transformation of force, and it wasn't something that force could compare to. Even if it was force at the highest stage, the advanced force, it was only compared to the strength of 2,000 ancient mammoths. Whereas even if it was the lowest concept, the 1st level concept, it was comparable to the strength of a horned dragon. The strength of a horned dragon was the strength of 10,000 ancient mammoths. 1st level concept was a few times stronger than advanced force. The atmosphere within the cage battle arena was tense, and a fight would break out at any moment. Junior brother Duan Ling Tian, leave. The current you is unable to win against this caged battle arena, and unable to win against the Prince Sheng's estate. Zheng Song smiled bitterly. Although he very much wanted to leave, to free himself from this life, where living was no better than death. But if it would harm Duan Ling Tian because of this, then he would rather maintain his present situation. Senior brother Zheng Song, I'll take you away from here today, no matter what. No matter who it is, don't hope of stopping me. Anyone who stops me die. Duan Ling Tian's gaze went icy cold as he said with a cold voice. Duan Ling Tian's voice wasn't soft, and it entered into the ears of everyone present. This matchlessly overbearing words caused the blood in everyone present to boil. This was a true iron-blooded man. Heroism that shot in the sky. Right at this moment, before the old man in the arena was able to speak. What high-sounding sentiments! A cold shout that was filled with rage sounded out from high above in the distant sky. Instantly, the gazes of everyone present shot at the location the voice sounded out from. At that place, two people were controlling the air and coming over. One was a gray-clothed old man, the other a young man in embroidered clothes. The cold grunt earlier was an aged voice, and it was obviously from this gray-clothed old man. Lord Manager. The old man who was in charge of presiding over the arena bowed respectfully when the gray old man appeared. Manager? Instantly, a wave of commotion arose in the surrounding spectating area. He's the manager of the cage battle arena? He has never shown himself in the past. I never imagined that he would personally appear today. The crowd of spectators discussed animatedly. Duan Ling Tian raised his head and glanced indifferently at the gray-clothed old man, and he couldn't be bothered to pay any attention to the old man before bringing along Zheng Song to walk out. This scene caused the people present to shudder with fear. After the manager of the caged battle arena appeared, this Duan Ling Tian still dares to do what he likes? Is he really unafraid of death? Presumptuous. Right at this moment, the young man in embroidered clothes beside the gray-clothed old man looked down at Duan Ling Tian and shouted in a grim voice. Duan Ling Tian, do you really think that our Prince Sheng's estate doesn't dare touch you because you're a Dragon and Phoenix Academy student? You have to get it in your head clearly. The academy is established by the imperial family, whereas the imperial family's relationship has a close relationship with our Prince Sheng's estate. If you're sensible, then leave this slave and kneel down and kowtow 10 times. Then perhaps I'll spare your life. The young man in embroidered clothes was precisely Zhang Heng, who Duan Ling Tian choked and lifted up in the air, the little prince of Prince Sheng's estate. Kowtow 10 times. Duan Ling Tian stopped moving and looked up. He looked at the young man in embroidered clothes as if he was confirming what the young man said. Yes, 10 times. If these kowtows aren't hard, then I'll make you die a graveless death. Zhang Heng stood by the gray-clothed old man's side, at the side of the manager of the arena, and Zhang Heng borrowed the might of the old man to throw his weight about. At this moment, the crowd of spectators in the surroundings looked at Duan Ling Tian with gazes that contained slight pity. As far as they were concerned, if Duan Ling Tian didn't do as the little prince of Prince Sheng's estate said, then he would probably be unable to escape calamity. It was exactly as the little prince had said. The Dragon and Phoenix Academy that Duan Ling Tian relied on now was only an academy the imperial family established. It was impossible that the imperial family would punish their clan relatives for the sake of a dead genius. Zhang Heng. Luo Zhan took a step forward and looked at Zhang Heng with a gaze that was icy cold to the extreme. Only he knew that Duan Ling Tian didn't only have a single reliance, the Dragon and Phoenix Academy. He believed that if his grandfather was here, his grandfather would have probably become infuriated since long ago and killed Zhang Heng. Duan Ling Tian's status in the heart of his grandfather was something he was extremely clear of, even to the extent that it was all because of Duan Ling Tian that his grandfather was able to become a grade 5 weapons craftsman a few months ago. To his grandfather, Duan Ling Tian was his teacher, his most respected teacher. Now, the Prince Sheng's estate used the power of their estate to oppress Duan Ling Tian. He could imagine that if he were to watch idly by, he would surely be bashed to death by his grandfather when he returned. Crazy young master, this is a matter between Duan Ling Tian and out Prince Sheng's estate. I hope you don't interfere. The manager of the arena glanced indifferently at Luo Zhan, yet deep within his eyes, there was slight fear. After all, there was a colossus that the Prince Sheng's estate couldn't afford to offend behind Luo Zhan. Aye. Luo Zhan grunted coldly, and he'd just opened his mouth when he was interrupted by Duan Ling Tian via voice transmission. Luo Zhan, don't interfere in this matter. This was Duan Ling Tian's words. Luo Zhan was stunned when he saw the confidence revealed from within Duan Ling Tian's eyes. Although he didn't know what Duan Ling Tian wanted to do, he didn't say anything further. Whereas Luo Zhan's reaction entered into the eyes of the people present, and it caused many people to sigh. Looks like Duan Ling Tian and Crazy Young Master's friendship isn't really good. Yeah, if Crazy Young Master interferes, then Duan Ling Tian would be able to easily escape from this calamity. Duan Ling Tian would surely be sighing emotionally in his heart about not carefully making friends, right? Many spectators whispered in discussion. Luo Zhan was slightly embarrassed when he heard these discussions. Was it that he was unwilling to help Duan Ling Tian? Besides Duan Ling Tian and Luo Zhan, only Chun Xiao Shui noticed an inkling. He was extremely clear of the relationship between Duan Ling Tian and Luo Zhan. and Luo Zhan's suddenly stopping had caused him to realize that the matter wasn't so simple. Huh? Zhang Heng stood in the sky and laughed arrogantly. Duan Ling Tian, did you see it? This is your friend. Hurry up and kowtow 10 times for your worthless life. Duan Ling Tian looked at Zhang Heng with a calm expression, and he was carefree. Duan Ling Tian, didn't you hear what the little prince said? The gray-clothed old man's imposing manner swept out to envelop Duan Ling Tian, and he wanted to bend down Duan Ling Tian's back. But Duan Ling Tian stood there like a mountain, remaining unmoved. Humph! The gray-clothed old man let out a light shout, and his imposing manner abruptly rose in might, and origin energy raised like flames on his body. In the air, 3 enormous silhouettes condensed into form. They were 3 ancient horned dragon silhouettes. Second level of the Void initiation stage. Instantly, many spectators gasped. The manager of the caged battle arena was a second-level Void prying stage expert. For a time, many people looked at the members of the caged battle arena, then looked at Duan Ling Tian, and they couldn't help but shake their heads and sigh. They sighed because there were 2 Void initiation stage experts on the side of the caged battle arena, whereas Duan Ling Tian's side seemed to only have a single Void initiation stage demon beast. Idiot! Duan Ling Tian's gaze swept past the caged battle arena manager and Zhang Heng. Then he spat out a word indifferently. Senior brother Zheng Song, let's go. Duan Ling Tian continued to lead Zheng Song out. This scene caused the scalps of many people to go numb. Has this Duan Ling Tian gone mad? He's paying no attention to 2 Void initiation stage experts. Does he really think they don't dare touch him? You're courting death. The expression of the manager of the caged battle arena went gloomy as he plunged down like a rock that had spread open its wings that covered the sky, and he plunged towards Duan Ling Tian. When he arrived nearby above the arena, he raised his hand and had actually directly tore open the iron cage. The strength of a Void initiation stage expert was put into full view. The corners of Zhang Heng's mouth curled into a sneer when he saw the scene before him, and it was as if he'd already seen the scene of Duan Ling Tian being killed. Little gold. Right at this moment, Duan Ling Tian shouted out coldly. Squeak! Instantly, a sharp cry resounded in the entire caged battle arena. Subsequently, the people present saw that when the manager of the caged battle arena arrived nearby Duan Ling Tian, his body suddenly stopped, and the raging origin energy on his body completely dispersed. The people who observed in detail were even able to notice that the eyes of the caged battle arena's manager was dim and lusterless, and he seemed as if he'd lost his soul. Swish! Whereas at this instant, a sword light that was swift to the limit flashed. Bang! The people present only recovered from their shock when the body of the caged battle arena's manager that sprayed fresh blood violently fell to the ground. The gazes of the people present swept past the manager of the caged battle arena before descending onto the little gold mouse that stood in the air, and they felt a chill run down their spines. Drip, drip. The pocket-sized spirit sword in the little gold mouse's hand was slowly dripping bewitching and resplendent blood. That was the blood of the caged battle arena's manager. This scene seemed to be telling everyone. So what if he's at the second level of the Void initiation stage? I'll still kill him without delay. Squeak, squeak. After she killed the caged battle arena's manager, the little gold mouse transformed into a gold light that descended onto Duan Ling Tian's shoulder, and she cried out like she was seeking credit. Meanwhile, the people present reacted to what had happened, and they all had expressions of shock. The first was Zheng Song, who was by Duan Ling Tian's side. Zheng Song looked at the little gold mouse that was close to him, and he felt a chill run down his spine. This little fellow that looks harmless actually possessed such a terrifying strength. Killing a second-level Void initiation stage expert was as easy as if it was slaughtering a chicken. Sword young master, did you see it clearly? Luo Zhan looked at Chen Xiaoshui and asked via voice transmission. Chen Xiaoshui's face was slightly stiff as he nodded. The actions of the manager earlier was exactly like the movements of the first leader of the bandits. But wasn't that Duan Ling Tian's demonic technique? Luo Zhan and Chen Xiaoshui had both clearly seen the scene of the manager seeming to have lost his soul before being killed. At that instant, the manager was completely unguarded. If they were able to attack at that moment, the manager would have died for sure. Not to mention this little gold mouse that was stronger than them. What a terrifying demon beast. Not long ago, a 9th-level void prying stage martial artist was killed by it. Now, a 2nd-level void initiation stage martial artist was similarly unable to flee from death before it. Where did Duan Ling Tian get this demon beast from? If I had such a demon beast, then wouldn't I be able to move about unhindered? Dream on. With just your natural talent and strength, do you think that demon beast would be willing to follow you? The spectating area surrounding the arena had become bustling once more. The old man that was in charge of presiding over the caged battle arena shivered as he stood in the sky, and his countenance was pale to the extreme. Their manager, an existence that was even stronger than him, was killed by the little gold mouse by Duan Ling Tian's side in an instant. At this moment, his heart was filled with terror. Even a 2nd-level void initiation stage expert had died at the hands of that little gold mouse, let alone a 1st-level void initiation stage martial artist like him. No, impossible. How can this be possible? Zhang Heng ceaselessly shook his head in the sky above the arena, and he was unwilling to believe that all of this was true. Zhang Heng. Right at this moment, a cold shout jolted Zhang Heng back to his senses, and it caused Zhang Heng's face to go pale. I'll return what you said earlier back to you. Count out 10 times in exchange for your life. Otherwise, you're dead. Duan Ling Tian looked at Zhang Heng with a gaze that was extremely icy cold, and he spoke word by word. Zhang Heng's figure shook when he heard this. Asking me to kowtow and beg for mercy? Zhang Heng swept the tens of thousands of spectators in the surroundings, and his body shook abruptly. His pride didn't allow him to do this. I'll give you the time of 10 breaths to consider. After 10 breaths, if you're still not kneeling before me and kowtowing to beg for mercy, then I'll surely kill you. Duan Ling Tian's voice contained icy cold killing intent mixed within. Squeak, squeak. The little gold mouse on Duan Ling Tian's shoulder now looked at Zhang Heng as well, and she cried out a few times as if she was showing support for Duan Ling Tian. The little gold mouse's cry caused the figure of the old man that presided over the arena and intended to interfere to stop in the sky, and he looked at the little gold mouse with eyes filled with terror. This little gold mouse was even able to kill a 2nd-level void initiation stage expert, let alone him. Although he was a member of Prince Sheng's estate and had the responsibility to protect the little prince, he was afraid when he thought of the consequences. He was afraid he would follow in the footsteps of the manager. 7 breaths of time left. Duan Ling Tian slowly spoke out, and his voice seemed to have transformed into a voodoo talisman that caused Zhang Heng's face to go ghastly pale. You kill him, kill them. Zhang Heng looked at the old man that was in charge of presiding over the arena with a fierce gaze, and he shouted out with a grim voice. The old man laughed bitterly. Kill Duan Ling Tian. Do I possess the strength? When he saw Duan Ling Tian's gaze sweep over, the old man took a deep breath before making a decision. From today onwards, I officially separate myself from Prince Sheng's estate and have become a free person. The old man spoke slowly. As soon as he finished speaking, he transformed into a flowing light that vanished before the eyes of everyone. This scene was unexpected by most of the people present. The void initiation stage expert of the caged battle arena has fled? There were also many people that guessed the thoughts in the old man's heart at this moment. They could imagine that if the old man attacked Duan Ling Tian today, then he would die for sure. After all, even the manager of the caged battle arena, an existence at the 2nd level of the void initiation stage, had died at the hands of the demon beast by Duan Ling Tian's side. As a 1st-level void initiation stage expert, how could he possibly be able to kill Duan Ling Tian? Whereas once the old man were to watch idly by and allow the little prince, Zhang Heng, to be humiliated, he would surely have no foothold left in the Prince Sheng's estate. So he made the best choice: to leave the Prince Sheng's estate. In this way, he wouldn't have to be stuck in between and be in a difficult spot. The old man's departure caused Zhang Heng's expression to go livid. 3 breaths of time remain. Duan Ling Tian's icy cold and indifferent voice sounded out in a timely manner, and it caused Zhang Heng's mind to shake greatly. The approach of death caused him to despair. In the face of death, he suddenly felt that pride seemed to be unimportant, and only surviving was most important. Duan Ling Tian. I'll surely return the humiliation today by hundredfold and 1,000-fold in the future. Zhang Heng endlessly roared with rage in his heart. But his body still obediently descended from the sky and knelt before Duan Ling Tian, and then he fiercely smashed his head onto the ground. Thump. 1 kowtow. Thump. 2 kowtows. Thump. Thump. Zhang Heng gritted his teeth and completed the 10 kowtows with force. After he finished, Zhang Heng stood up before soaring into the sky, and in the blink of an eye, he'd concealed himself beyond the clouds, vanishing from sight. He wasn't willing to stay for a single moment. Whereas after Zhang Heng left, the booing in the surroundings of the caged battle arena rose and fell continuously without end. I've really broadened my horizons today. When faced with the threat of death, the little prince of Prince Sheng's estate had kowtowed 10 times with great resolve. Prince Sheng's estate has really lost face greatly this time. The crowd of spectators present knew clearly that it wouldn't be long before the incident from today would spread throughout the entire imperial city. Senior brother Zheng Song, let's go. Duan Ling Tian smiled to Zheng Song and brought him along to leave. This time, no one obstructed him anymore. The group of workers in the caged battle arena watched helplessly as Duan Ling Tian took Zheng Song and left, and they didn't dare make a single sound. What a joke. Before Duan Ling Tian, their caged battle arena's strongest manager and vice manager had either died or fled. How would they dare offend Duan Ling Tian? Duan Ling Tian opened the way in the front, and Zheng Song followed closely behind with an exceedingly complicated gaze. He never imagined that not even 3 years had passed, yet the little fellow from all those years ago had already grown to such an extent, and Duan Ling Tian even had an extremely formidable demon beast that seemed to be at the void initiation stage by his side. With Duan Ling Tian present, why should my 7-star sword sect be worried about not rising? Zheng Song's eyes were filled with burning flames of hope. Luo Zhang and Chun Xiao Shui followed at the very back, and their expressions were extremely complicated. Squeak, squeak. After leaving the caged battle arena, the little gold mouse that was originally in high spirits suddenly lay on Duan Ling Tian's shoulder, and she weakly sent a voice transmission. Big brother Ling Tian, I'm going to sleep. Okay, you take a rest. Duan Ling Tian replied. He knew that executing the soul skill, Soul Shaker, and combining it with the spirit sword in her hand to kill the manager of the caged battle arena had almost completely emptied the little gold mouse's spiritual force. Earlier, she'd always been forcefully holding on. After all, she still had to deter the old man that was in charge of presiding over the arena. Although the old man was inferior to the manager of the caged battle arena, but he was still a first-level void initiation stage expert. The little gold mouse that was unable to execute her soul skill wasn't a match for him. Presently, the little gold mouse's cultivation had improved a step further when compared to before and had broken through to the 8th level of the void prying stage. Whereas her spiritual force had followed her cultivation to break through to the 2nd level of the void initiation stage. So long as a 2nd level void initiation stage expert wasn't an inscription master, the expert's mind would be affected by her soul skill, Soul Shaker. Earlier, if the old man that presided over the arena wasn't afraid and had directly attacked instead, it would be impossible for Little Gold to stop him. After all, Little Gold's spiritual force had already been completely used up when she executed her soul skill to deal with the manager, and she would only be able to execute Soul Shaker once more after half a month. If she didn't possess her soul skill, it would be impossible for her to be a match for a void initiation stage martial artist, even if she had a grade 4 spirit sword. So when he thought up to here, Duan Ling Tian felt slightly fortunate. In next to no time, Duan Ling Tian had found an inn and let Zheng Song go wash up, whereas he instead sat chatting in the guest room of the inn with Luo Zhan and Qin Xiao Shui. Duan Ling Tian, he is. Luo Zhan looked at Duan Ling Tian and asked curiously. He was rather curious towards Zheng Song's identity. Up until now, he only knew that Zheng Song was a 7-star sword sect disciple. He's the son of our 7-star sword sect's Mizar Peak's master and has always been friends with me. That day when the 7-star sword sect was annihilated, I thought that he was killed by the members of the Azure Forest Trisect as well, yet I never imagined that I would meet him in the Imperial City. Cold lights flickered in Duan Ling Tian's eyes. Now it would seem that the members of the Azure Forest Trisect have shamed him by making him be reduced to a slave. The Azure Forest Trisect has indeed slightly gone too far. Luo Zhan frowned. A warrior would rather die than be humiliated. I presume Zheng Song didn't have a good time during these 2 years. He's already been reduced to a slave. How could he have had a good time? Duan Ling Tian said with a low voice. Those fellows have indeed gone too far. Looks like I should find a time to make a declaration and completely cast of my relations to the Azure Forest Trisect. Chen Xiao Shui grunted coldly. Although since the moment the Origin Convergence sect joined the Azure Forest Trisect, he didn't admit that he was a disciple of the Azure Forest Trisect. But there weren't many outsiders who knew this. After all, he didn't make a declaration. I wonder if there are any survivors amongst the remaining disciples of the Seven-Star Sword sect. Duan Ling Tian took a deep breath, and his eyes emitted slight worry. Junior brother Duan Ling Tian. Before long, Zheng Song had finished washing up and came out. He wore a mask on half of his face, and it covered his slave brand. Senior brother Zheng Song, I'll help you remove the brand on your face later. I'm confident in making your face return to normal, Duan Ling Tian said to Zheng Song. Presently, he was a grade 4 alchemist, and he was able to refine many healing medicinal pills that recovered injuries of the skin, and one of the grade 4 medicinal pills amongst them was even able to allow skin to regrow flawlessly. There's no need. However, Zheng Song instead refused Duan Ling Tian's good intentions. No need. Zheng Song's words caused Duan Ling Tian to be stunned. Whereas Luo Zhan and Chen Xiao Shui felt that Zheng Song's reply was inconceivable. There was someone who liked living with a slave brand? There's no need for now. Zheng Song spoke with a low voice. I won't touch it before the Azure Forest Trisect is annihilated. It is my disgrace, my lifelong disgrace. I want it to always remind me to never forget to avenge the sect. Zheng Song's tone was extremely heavy, and it caused the atmosphere in the room to become oppressive. I understand. Duan Ling Tian nodded, and then he said, when the Azure Forest Trisect is annihilated and the Seven-Star Sword sect is rebuilt, I'll help senior brother Zheng Song remove the slave brand on your face. Thank you, junior brother Duan Ling Tian. Zheng Song nodded. Subsequently, Duan Ling Tian introduced Luo Zhan and Chen Xiao Shui to Zheng Song. Luo Zhan was still fine as Zheng Song greeted him in a friendly manner. But Chen Xiao Shui, your sword young master? A member of the Origin Convergence sect. Rage and hostility appeared on Zheng Song's face as he looked at Chen Xiao Shui. The Origin Convergence sect was one of the culprits that annihilated the Seven-Star Sword sect. Zheng Song, after the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom appeared, it meant the Origin Convergence sect didn't exist any longer, and I'm not a member of the Origin Convergence sect any longer. As for that Azure Forest Trisect, I disdain to be in their company, Chen Xiao Shui explained. Meanwhile, Zheng Song's expression eased up. Senior brother Zheng Song, how did you survive? Exactly what happened after I was sent off that day? Why did Zhao Ming betray the sect and join the Azure Forest Trisect? Duan Ling Tian looked at Zheng Song and asked curiously. Duan Ling Tian had too many questions in his heart towards what happened that day. That day, besides Zhao Ming, practically all the higher-ups of our Seven-Star Sword sect passed away, and not many Seven-Star Sword sect disciples remained. Although we survived, we were held captive by the Azure Forest Trisect. After an unknown amount of time, we were branded with the brand of a slave and were reduced to becoming slaves before being sent to that caged battle arena. When he spoke up to hear, Zheng Song's body started trembling, and his face held boundless rage. Besides me, the other disciples that survived were all killed in the caged battle arena. Only I survived with difficulty all the way. Bang! Duan Ling Tian's face sank, and he was enraged to the extreme. He suddenly raised his hand and shattered the table by his side. The entire table split into pieces and bits of wood swirled in the air. Azure, Forest, Sect. Duan Ling Tian gnashed his teeth as killing intent flickered in his eyes. Originally, after you left that day, so long as Elder Peng returned, then the experts of our Seven-Star Sword sect might not have been unable to persist until the end and have a few survivors. But because of Zhao Ming's betrayal, it caused all our seven-star sword sect experts to die not long after you left. Zheng Song said in a low voice. Zhao Ming first launched a sneak attack on Elder Xian and joined forces with the members of the Azure Forest Trisect to kill Elder Xian. After that, he attacked the sect leader with the members of the Azure Forest Trisect and killed the sect leader. When he spoke up to hear, Zheng Song had an expression of grief and resentment. What? Duan Ling Tian was stunned. Elder Xian and the sect leader were both killed by the joint forces of Zhao Ming and the members of the Azure Forest Trisect. That day in the Crimson Sky Kingdom, when he saw that Zhao Ming had actually become a guardian elder of the Azure Forest Trisect, he thought that Zhao Ming had betrayed the sect after he became a captive of the Azure Forest Trisect. So, although Zhao Ming betrayed the Seven-Star Sword sect, everyone had their own aspirations, and he didn't hate Zhao Ming because of this. But now, when he heard Zheng Song's words, his eyes went completely red. Elder Xian was the strongest sword cultivator in our Seven-Star Sword sect, and he'd comprehended the 7th-level sword concept. With his strength, if it wasn't or Zhao Ming launching a sneak attack, he might have been able to survive. Zheng Song said with anger. Elder Xian. Duan Ling Tian closed his eyes. That day when the Seven-Star Sword sect met with calamity, although it was the first time he'd seen Elder Xian, it was still difficult for him to forget Elder Xian's elegant demeanor. Elder Xian went against 3 great experts of the Azure Forest Trisect by himself. What superb heroic spirit he had. But an old man like this that caused respect in others was sneak attacked to death by Zhao Ming. Zhao Ming. Duan Ling Tian's body lightly trembled, and the killing intent in his eyes had reached the limit. He'd already made a decision in his heart. Once he possessed sufficient strength, he would surely enter the inscription formation in the Darkstone Empire and kill Zhao Ming. Zhao Ming deserved death. After catching up with Zheng Song for some time, Duan Ling Tian bid his farewells and left with Luo Zhan and Chen Xiao Shuai when it was deep in the night. Before they left, he discussed with Zheng Song that the little gold mouse would send Zheng Song back to the Seven-Star Sword sect tomorrow. Although the Seven-Star Sword sect didn't exist any longer, the Alcade Peaks master, Qin Xiang, and the sect leader's personal disciple, Mo Yu, were both cultivating inside the stalactite cave. After Duan Ling Tian returned to the Dragon and Phoenix Academy, he started getting busy. He was mainly refining some medicinal pills for Zheng Song, and he'd asked Little Gold to bring it over when she went to Zheng Song tomorrow. Duan Ling Tian silently refined medicinal pills in his room all through the night. He instead didn't know that practically everyone in the academy was discussing his actions in the cage battle arena today. Duan Ling Tian is too formidable. The manager of the caged battle arena, an existence at the 2nd level of the Void Initiation stage, was killed by the demon beast by his side with a single move. I truly never imagined that the little mouse by Duan Ling Tian's side that only looks like a pet mouse is actually a Void Initiation stage demon beast. So, never judge a mouse by its appearance. I heard that Duan Ling Tian even made the little prince of Prince Sheng's estate, Zhang Heng, kowtow 10 times to him before the eyes of a few tens of thousands of people. It seems that it was Zhang Heng who was being overbearing at first, and Duan Ling Tian only gave him a taste of his own medicine. He can only consider himself unfortunate for offending Duan Ling Tian. The crowd of Dragon and Phoenix Academy students were filled with adoration towards Duan Ling Tian's natural talent and strength since the beginning. Now, when they heard of Duan Ling Tian's domineering actions, they felt their blood boil. Zhang Heng, after Flame Young Master, Zhang Yin, received the news, he frowned. That fellow, of all the people, he actually went and offended Duan Ling Tian. But Duan Ling Tian actually caused Prince Sheng's estate to lose face so greatly. I wonder what my imperial uncle's reaction will be. Zhang Heng was Zhang Yan's cousin brother. Duan Ling Tian. In a quiet room, a beautiful woman that seemed like she'd come from a painting sighed lightly. Brother, Duan Ling Tian is now a 4th-level void prying stage martial artist already. Only she was within the room, and she was speaking to the air. The atmosphere in the room was slightly strange. If Duan Ling Tian was here, he would surely be able to recognize this woman. It was exactly the flute fairy, Ziyan. whereas Flute Fairy's muttering was precisely towards Zither Young Master, who was in a faraway place. Zither Young Master had taken Duan Ling Tian to be his lifelong enemy, and it caused her, his sister, to be extremely worried. Duan Ling Tian's improvement caused her to be shocked. An entire night's time quickly passed by. Dawn. Duan Ling Tian stopped refining and put away the cauldron, and then he yawned. It's almost time. Duan Ling Tian's face revealed a smile as he looked at the numerous bottles of medicinal pills before him. Squeak, squeak, the little gold mouse's cry sounded out in a timely manner. After resting for a night's time, the little gold mouse was refreshed. Little gold. Duan Ling Tian looked at the little gold mouse and said, I'll give you a mission today. Send senior brother Zheng Song back to the stalactite cave on Migres Peak. Remember, don't cause trouble. As he finished speaking, Duan Ling Tian had a serious expression. Squeak, squeak. The little gold mouse was instantly slightly excited when she heard she could leave the imperial city. When he saw the little gold mouse put away the medicinal pills in the spatial collar on her neck, Duan Ling Tian said with a smile, Go on. Come back early. I know, big brother Ling Tian. The little gold mouse replied via voice transmission before transforming into a gold light that left the room and left the academy, and in the blink of an eye, she'd entered beyond the clouds. Whereas outside the exquisite house between the inner hall and outer hall, an old man stood there and looked at the direction the little gold mouse left. I truly never imagined that this little gold mouse by Duan Ling Tian's side is even able to kill a second-level void initiation stage martial artist. The old man was precisely the vice dean of the academy, Qi Ming. With Prince Sheng's explosive temper, he's probably already entered the palace now, right? Qi Ming muttered, yet he seemed to not be worried in the slightest. The Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Imperial Palace. The Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Imperial Palace was extremely vast, and it couldn't be compared to the Imperial Palace of the Crimson Sky Kingdom. Presently, in a pavilion deep within the Imperial Palace, a middle-aged man in embroidered clothes that was in a hurry stood there and said respectfully, Imperial brother, I seek an audience. Meanwhile, a eunuch walked out from the pavilion and looked at the middle-aged man in embroidered clothes, and then he said with a light smile, Prince Sheng, His Majesty invites you in. The middle-aged man in embroidered clothes was the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Prince Sheng, the younger brother of a different mother of the emperor. Prince Sheng nodded and walked in with large strides. After he walked into the pavilion, a beautifully decorated great hall appeared before his eyes. Presently, at the head of the hall, a middle-aged man in imperial robes with an extremely dignified bearing sat up straight there. Behind the dignified middle-aged man was an old man with a gaunt appearance who stood there like a shadow without an expression on his face, and the old man's aura was restrained. The identity of the middle-aged man was obvious. The emperor of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. Imperial brother. Prince Sheng bowed respectfully to the emperor. Imperial brother, there's no need for formality. The emperor raised his hand and stopped Prince Sheng. Then his eyes narrowed as he asked, Is there an important matter that made Imperial brother rush into the palace to see me early in the morning? Imperial brother, you have to stand up for your nephew. Prince Sheng bowed and spoke with an enraged expression. The emperor's gaze flashed as he asked slowly, What happened exactly? Prince Sheng said in a low voice, Imperial brother, a student from the Dragon and Phoenix Academy caused trouble in my caged battle arena yesterday. Not only did he allow the demon beast by his side to kill a 9th-level void prying stage revered elder of my estate, it even killed a 2nd-level void initiation stage manager of my caged battle arena. Besides that, he also made Hung kowtow 10 times to him. When he spoke up to hear, Prince Sheng spoke with righteous indignation. Imperial brother, no matter what fault Hung has, it's still the imperial family's blood that flows within him. Not only has this caused my Prince Sheng's estate to be humiliated, it had similarly caused the imperial family to be humiliated. So, I request that Imperial brother allows me to head to the academy and look for that student to denounce his crimes. Prince Sheng spoke in a resolute voice. Something like this happened. The emperor's brows raised when he heard this, and then he asked, Who is the student from Dragon and Phoenix Academy? Imperial brother, it's precisely the survivor of the 7-star sword sect, Duan Ling Tian. As he finished speaking, Prince Xing spoke word by word with extreme rage. Duan Ling Tian. The emperor's brows raised and exuded a dignified aura. Are you sure it's him? Yes. Prince Xing nodded. Imperial brother, if it's anyone else, I can allow you to go get even with the student. But not Duan Ling Tian. The emperor shook his head. No. Prince Sheng was stunned, and he revealed an expression of being not resigned. Imperial brother, why is this? The emperor said indifferently. Imperial brother, I presume you've heard of Duan Ling Tian and know of his natural talent. Presently, the selection for the martial competition of the 10 dynasties is imminent, and it has extraordinary meaning to my Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. Prince Sheng took a deep breath and spoke in a clear voice. Imperial brother, could it be that my Prince Sheng's estate has to suffer this humiliation just like that? Prince Sheng. The emperor's face sank slightly when he saw Prince Sheng being overbearing, and even the way that he addressed Prince Sheng had changed. I temporarily don't know the whole story of this matter, but I understand that son of yours, and he always causes trouble. Just drop this matter. There's no need to say anything further. You can leave now. As the emperor finished speaking, his attitude was resolute. Yes, imperial brother. Presently, Prince Sheng was able to feel the emperor's firmness, and he took a deep breath before bidding his farewell and leaving. The instant he turned around, Prince Sheng's eyes flickered with extreme cold lights. Duan Ling Tian, you killed experts of my estate, humiliated my son, and humiliated my estate. I'll surely make you die a graceless death. Imperial brother is able to protect you for some time, but he can't protect you forever. Boundless killing intent was brewing in Prince Sheng's heart. Perhaps it's time to look for the 3 great sect leaders of the Azure Forest Trisect for a discussion. With me coordinating with them from within, it'll surely be easy to kill Duan Ling Tian. An insane thought emerged in Prince Sheng's heart, and this thought was difficult to restrain any longer. After he left the Imperial Palace, Prince Sheng left the Imperial City and headed north. In the north, the former Snow Moon sect was situated within a cluster of mountains that snowed all year long, and it was a world of ice and snow. Today, an unexpected guest had arrived at this world of ice and snow. Sect leader Shui. A sonorous voice sounded out, and it shook the cluster of mountains to the point the white snow started shaking. Whoosh! A figure soared into the sky. It was a middle-aged man wearing a silk headdress and holding a feathered fan. Prince Sheng, the former sect leader of Snow Moon sect, Shui Rue, who was currently one of the 3 great sect leaders of the Azure Forest Trisect, saw the unexpected guest before him and was slightly surprised. Prince Sheng, Zhang Sheng, the younger brother of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's emperor, always had no relationship with him, and Prince Sheng coming to visit today was surprising to him. Sect leader Shui, aren't you going to invite me in? Zhang Sheng asked. Prince Sheng, please come in. Shui Rue lightly smiled as he invited Zhang Sheng in. The great hall that was suffused with warm air when compared with the icy cold world outside the hall was entirely like 2 extreme opposites. Presently, Shui Rue and Zhang Sheng sat facing each other within the great hall. Prince Sheng, did you make a special trip to see me? Shui Rue went straight to the point. Exactly. Zhang Sheng nodded, and flames of rage leaped about in his eyes as he said with a low voice, Sect Master Shui, I'll go straight to the point. I came to look for you this time mainly because I want to cooperate with your Azure Forest Trisect. Cooperate? Shui Rue was stunned, and then he shook his head and smiled. Prince Sheng, according to my knowledge, our Azure Forest Trisect has never had a relationship with your Prince Sheng's estate. So what cooperation are you speaking about? Sect leader Shui, I want to cooperate with your Azure Forest Trisect in coordination from both the inside and the outside to kill Duan Ling Tian. Zhang Sheng spoke word by word. Duan Ling Tian. Zhang Sheng's words caused Shui Rue's eyes to slightly squint. Prince Sheng, according to my knowledge, Duan Ling Tian is a student of the Dragon and Phoenix Academy, and to a certain extent, he's protected by your imperial family. Exactly. Zhang Sheng nodded as a trace of killing intent flashed within his eyes. It's precisely because that imperial brother of mine is protecting him that I thought of cooperating with your Azure Forest Trisect to kill him. I wonder how Duan Ling Tian ignorantly offend Prince Sheng. Shui Rue asked with interest. Zhang Sheng spoke of the sequence of events with rage. The mouse-type demon beast by Duan Ling Tian's side is able to kill a second-level void-parting stage martial artist? Shui Rui's brows raised. Prince Shang, do you know the exact cultivation of that demon beast? I don't know that. Zhang Sheng shook his head. Then he seemed to have thought of something and asked. Sect leader Shui, according to my knowledge, your Azure Forest Trisect ought to wish for nothing more than to kill that Duan Ling Tian and celebrate after. Yet I wonder why he's still living until today. With Duan Ling Tian's natural talent, there might not be anyone who's a match for him in the Azure Forest Trisect after 10 years. As he finished speaking, Zhang Sheng's eyes flickered with a bright light. This was something he was unable to wrap his head around all along. If he was a sect leader of the Azure Forest Trisect, once he found out that Duan Ling Tian was at the Dragon and Phoenix Academy, he would surely spare no cost in killing Duan Ling Tian. The threat Duan Ling Tian posed was too great. Prince Shang, I won't hide the truth from you. Almost 1 year ago, our Azure Forest Trisect took action against Duan Ling Tian. Flowing lights flickered within Shui Rui's eyes as he said slowly. At that time, our Azure Forest Trisect had sent out 2 6th-level Void Initiation Stage Guardian Elders to head to the Imperial City and await an opportunity to kill Duan Ling Tian. However, those 2 Guardian Elders instead vanished into thin air, and it was as if they'd evaporated from the world. It's precisely because of this that our Azure Forest Trisect didn't dare rashly make another move. Shui Rui finished speaking in one go. When he spoke up to hear, Shui Rui's eyes revealed a trace of fear. Besides that, his personal disciple, Lu Yu, had now vanished without a trace. According to his guess, his disciple had probably met with disaster. What? Zhang Sheng's face went gloomy. 2 6th-level Void Initiation Stage experts vanished without a trace. Could it be that it was done by the demon beast by Duan Ling Tian's side? Probably not. Shui Rui shook his head. If the demon beast by Duan Ling Tian's side had the strength to kill 2 6th-level Void Initiation Stage experts, do you think he wouldn't come take revenge on our Azure Forest Trisect for the 7-Star Sword sect? Zhang Sheng came to a sudden understanding. Indeed, if the demon beast by Duan Ling Tian's side had the strength to kill 2 6th-level Void Initiation Stage experts, Duan Ling Tian would surely not let the Azure Forest Trisect off. Could it be that until your Azure Forest Trisect finds those 2 Guardian Elders, your sect won't make a move against Duan Ling Tian? Zhang Sheng spoke out and guessed. According to my conjecture, perhaps the 2 Guardian Elders have temporarily concealed themselves because of something, and it's impossible for it to be related to Duan Ling Tian. I think so too. But the other 2 sect leaders instead advocate being on the safe side, said Shui Rui. Being on the safe side is indeed a necessity. But the act of letting Duan Ling Tian grow is inadvisable, said Zhang Sheng. Prince Shang, you said earlier that you wanted to cooperate with us by coordinating from both the inside and the outside to deal with Duan Ling Tian. I presume you have a mature idea, and I'm willing to listen to the details. Shui Rui asked Zhang Sheng. Duan Ling Tian naturally didn't know that a great scheme was sneaking towards him now. Presently, he was silently cultivating in the academy as he waited for the arrival of the genius competition that was half a month away. The genius competition would decide the stronger 5 people in the end, and these 5 people would acquire the 5 spots to head to the Darkstone Empire. With Duan Ling Tian's current strength, it wasn't difficult to seize one of the 5 spots, but Duan Ling Tian's target now wasn't the spot from the genius competition. Obtaining that spot was without suspense to him, and he'd never even thought about it. His current target was to break through to the Void Initiation Stage as soon as possible. At that time, he would be able to open the Sword Monarch's treasure with the other owners of the 8 Jade Swords. The Sword Monarch's treasure was a treasure left behind by a sword cultivating martial monarch, and there might be things that are useful to him within it. Unfortunately, although the rebirth pill could be called heaven-defying and is able to greatly improve my cultivation, I only have a core medicinal catalyst, Duan Ling Tian's side. The most important material of the rebirth pill was the blood of a scarlet phoenix. However, besides the core medicinal catalyst, the blood of a scarlet phoenix, the rebirth pill still required another 2 more secondary medicinal catalysts. Although those two secondary medicinal catalysts couldn't be considered to be rare in the foreign lands, they'd be extremely difficult to come by in the territory of the Darkhan dynasty. All those years ago, after the Rebirth Martial Emperor consumed the Rebirth pill, he'd experienced many years before completely absorbing the medicinal strength of the Rebirth pill and breaking through from the first level of the Martial Emperor stage to the fourth level of the Martial Emperor stage in one go. And he crushed all the other Martial Emperors on Cloud Continent. Duan Ling Tian shuddered with fear when he thought of the terrifying medicinal strength contained within the Rebirth pill. That medicinal strength could be called heaven-defying. Most importantly, the medicinal strength of the Rebirth pill was extremely gentle. A human or demon beast of any cultivation was able to consume it. I can only wait until I arrive at the Darkstone Empire, then go look for it at the Darkhan dynasty. Duan Ling Tian thought in his heart. The other medicinal materials weren't anything great, as he'd already obtained the Scarlet Phoenix blood that was the most difficult to obtain, and he only lacked the two secondary medicinal catalysts. So long as he obtained those two types of secondary medicinal catalysts, he would be able to refine the Rebirth pill. Now, Duan Ling Tian only hoped that he would be able to find those two medicinal materials in the Darkhan dynasty. Perhaps I can ask City Governor Feng for help after I arrive at the Darkhan dynasty. Meanwhile, Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but recall Feng Wu Dao and the others he'd gotten acquainted with in the Darkstone Empire's Phoenix Nest City all those years ago. Feng Wu Dao had said that Duan Ling Tian could go to the Feng clan to look for him once Duan Ling Tian had arrived in the Darkhan dynasty in the future. Also, Tian Wu. She's a step closer to the age of 30 now. I hope that I'm able to find a way to help her before she's 30 years old. Feng Tian Wu possessed the rare fire spirit body. If there was no way to deal with it before she became 30, then Feng Tian Wu would surely explode from the pent-up energy in her body. Although the relationship between him and Feng Tian Wu hadn't advanced to the extent of being love between man and woman, he always felt tender and protective towards that beautiful and warm young woman. If it was possible, Duan Ling Tian wasn't willing to see her pass away like this. Half a month of time passed by quickly. During this period of time, Little Gold had sent Zheng Song to the stalactite cave on Migres Peak and returned. Today, early in the morning after breakfast, the group of Dragon and Phoenix Academy students were all gathered together. Everyone, from today onwards, the Dragon and Phoenix Academy will be dissolved. All of you can return to the powers you belong to. Tomorrow, all of you can rely on the Dragon and Phoenix Academy Student Command token in your possessions to lead the seniors from the powers all of you are from into the Imperial Palace to watch the genius competition. At that time, there will be someone to gather the command tokens in your possessions. Now, everyone can disperse. The Vice Dean, Qi Ming, spoke slowly. Instantly, the students present went silent. Especially some of the outer hall students, as they'd sown deep friendship between each other. And after today, all of them would go their separate ways. All of them felt unwilling. However, all good things must come to an end, and no matter how unwilling they were, they had to leave in the end. Vice Dean Qi, farewell. Duan Ling Tian nodded to Qi Ming, and then he turned around to leave with Luo Zhan and Chen Xiaoshui. See you tomorrow. Qi Ming's voice transmission entered into Duan Ling Tian's ears as well. After Duan Ling Tian's group of 3 left, the group of academy students left successively. Ziyan, Flame Young Master, Zhang Yan, thickened his face and followed behind Flute Fairy, Ziyan. Zhang Yan, I'm warning you, don't follow me anymore. Flute Fairy's slanted brows tilted up, and she was like a female tiger that was demonstrating her might. But Zhang Yan utterly didn't allow himself to be pushed away. Perhaps, so long as Flute Fairy didn't get married, he wouldn't give up on chasing after Flute Fairy. After Duan Ling Tian, Luo Zhan, and Chen Xiaoshui left the academy, they went to have a meal together. After the meal, Duan Ling Tian, want to go to the Spring Night House with me? Chen Xiaoshui looked at Duan Ling Tian with a dubious expression. No. Duan Ling Tian shook his head, and his tone was resolute and decisive. Chen Xiaoshui shook his head. Then he glanced at Duan Ling Tian before looking and at Luo Zhan, and he sighed. Truly boring. Sometime I even have doubts about whether you're interested in women. Sword Young Master, I'm more interested in sparring with you. Duan Ling Tian spoke word by word. Exactly, I'm interested in sparring with you, sword young master, as well. Luo Zhan looked at Chen Xiao Shuai, and the battle intent in his eyes surged. Chen Xiao Shuai rolled his eyes at Duan Ling Tian and Luo Zhan. I can't be bothered with the two of you. As soon as he finished speaking, he directly leaped out of the window and left to the Spring Night House to have fun. Whereas after Duan Ling Tian and Luo Zhan finished eating, they left the restaurant and headed to the Weapons Craftsman Guild. The Weapons Craftsman Guild had a total of 5 floors. The first floor was the main hall to publish and accept assignments. The second floor was the place to rest and verify the grade of a weapons craftsman and to distribute the Weapons Craftsman badge. The third floor was the weapons refinement room that was exclusive to the guild master, Luo Rong. The fourth floor was the place of rest for the workers of the Weapons Craftsman Guild. The fifth floor was Luo Rong's residence. When he heard that Duan Ling Tian wanted to stay for a night, Luo Rong instantly instructed the workers to tidy up a room in the 5th floor for Duan Ling Tian. Although Duan Ling Tian was unwilling to be Luo Rong's teacher, in Luo Rong's heart, he'd already taken Duan Ling Tian to be his teacher since long ago. On the next day, Duan Ling Tian and Luo Zhan left the Weapons Craftsman Guild and entered into a carriage. Another person followed by their side, the guild master of the Weapons Craftsman Guild, Luo Rong. In the carriage, Duan Ling Tian sat a lot at one side, whereas Luo Rong and Luo Zhan sat together at the other side. Because of Luo Rong's presence, Luo Zhan didn't dare be as casual as he normally was. Squeak, squeak, for a time, only the little gold mouse's cries remained within the carriage. Luo Rong's gaze descended onto the little gold mouse. He's heard of the incident that occurred in the caged battle arena half a month ago, and he knew that this was a demon beast that was able to kill a second-level void initiation stage martial artist. Master, this demon beast by your side seems to not be a gold fur mouse? Luo Rong looked at Duan Ling Tian and asked respectfully. Of course it isn't a gold fur mouse. Duan Ling Tian shook his head and smiled, then said, Have you seen a gold fur mouse step into the void initiation stage? Luo Rong smiled with slight embarrassment. Duan Ling Tian, what demon beast is little gold? Luo Zhan curiously asked Duan Ling Tian. Jade-eyed heavenly mouse. Duan Ling Tian's eyes flashed as he spoke. Jade-eyed heavenly mouse? Although Duan Ling Tian had spoken of the origins of the little gold mouse, Luo Rong and Luo Zhan had obviously not heard of it. Although I don't know what demon beast a jade-eyed heavenly mouse is, just from this domineering name, it's surely not an ordinary demon beast. Luo Zhan sighed. Squeak, squeak. The little gold mouse stood on Duan Ling Tian's shoulder as she complacently nodded to Luo Zhan. It was as if she was saying, At least you're insightful. It wasn't long before the carriage stopped, as they'd arrived at the Imperial Palace. Duan Ling Tian walked down from the carriage, and he was absent-minded for a moment as he looked at the grand and magnificent Imperial Palace. Before the Imperial Palace of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, the Imperial Palace of the Crimson Sky Kingdom seemed to be slightly not grand enough. Meanwhile, Luo Zhan and Luo Rong had successively descended from the carriage. Duan Ling Tian noticed that there were many students of Dragon and Phoenix Academy in the distance who were heading towards the entrance of the Imperial Palace with their seniors. After they passed over their command tokens and registered themselves, they were able to bring others with them into the Imperial Palace. Let's go over. Luo Zhan called out to Duan Ling Tian and Luo Rong. Duan Ling Tian nodded and walked over with large strides. When he arrived at the entrance to the Imperial Palace, his footsteps had stopped. Because 3 figures that were moving towards the Imperial Palace from the distance had attracted his gaze. Luo Rong and Luo Zhan noticed something was off with Duan Ling Tian, and Luo Zhan asked, Duan Ling Tian, what are you looking at? Chai Jin. At the same time, Luo Zhan looked over to the place Duan Ling Tian was looking at. At that place, 3 black-colored figures were walking over with large strides. Chai Jin, who wore black clothes, was walking together with a middle-aged man who wore black clothes and had a hideous appearance, and in front of them was a black-clothed old man. Chai Jin and the middle-aged man by his side were respectful and reverent to the old man. Members of the Black Fiend sect? Luo Zhan knew Chai Jin's background, But he was extremely curious why Duan Ling Tian would lose his composure because of Chai Jin. Logically speaking, Chai Jin didn't have the ability to make Duan Ling Tian lose his composure like this. He vaguely guessed that there surely was some secrets hidden within. Luo Rong's gaze descended onto the black, clothed middle-aged man. He was able to discern that Duan Ling Tian's gaze had descended onto this person. "Let's go in." Suddenly, Duan Ling Tian spoke, and then he led the way towards the imperial palace. Luo Rong and Luo Zhan glanced at each other before following after. After Duan Ling Tian and Luo Zhan handed over their student command token, they started the registration. Duan Ling Tian, Luo Zhan. The person in charge of registration looked at Duan Ling Tian and Luo Zhan with a gaze filled with reverence. Duan Ling Tian's group of 3 entered the imperial palace and followed along the stream of people to arrive before a vast drill ground. "This is the place the imperial army normally carries out their drills," said Luo Zhan to Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian came to a sudden understanding. "Looks like the genius competition will be held in the drill grounds." Meanwhile, the people that arrived at the drill grounds grew more and more. "Duan Ling Tian, Luo Zhan, you two are really early." Even Sword Young Master had arrived. But he came alone. He only noticed the nearby Luo Rong after he arrived before Duan Ling Tian and Luo Zhan, and he hurriedly smiled and bowed. "Greetings, Guild Master Luo. Sword Young Master, I hope you've been well." Luo Rong nodded to Chen Xiaoshui, and he obviously knew Chen Xiaoshui well. "Guild Master Luo, you know as well that since that old goat passed away, there's no one to supervise me anymore. I've lived these past few years extremely freely." Chen Xiaoshui smiled. Duan Ling Tian's brows raised. He naturally knew who the old goat, Sword Young Master, spoke of was. It was Sword Young Master's master, the former guardian elder of the Origin Convergence sect, and it was precisely him who had tricked Sword Young Master to join the Origin Convergence sect. But that guardian elder had died because of chi deviation later on. Since then, Sword Young Master had been lingering in the places of pleasure in the Imperial City all day long. Of course, Duan Ling Tian was able to discern Sword Young Master still had some feelings towards that guardian elder of the former Origin Convergence sect. Not long after, the people at the drill grounds grew more and more, and many people took the initiative to come over and greet Duan Ling Tian, Luo Zhan, and Chen Xiaoshui. Almost all these people were students of the Dragon and Phoenix Academy and the seniors from the powers they belonged to. As expected for the #1 genius of the former 7-star sword sect, no matter where young Master Ling Tian goes, you're able to display extraordinary talents. Young Master Ling Tian, if you're free in the future, you can pay a visit to our clan, and we'll surely treat young Master Ling Tian as a distinguished guest. The reputation of Crazy Young Master has been like thunder reverberating in my ears since long ago, and now that I've met you today, you live up to your reputation. Sword Young Master, I heard that your sword is swift like a bolt of lightning. It's impossible for this useless son of mine to compare with Sword Young Master. Sword Young Master, if you're free, I would like to spar with Sword Young Master." Waves of flattery entered into the ears of Duan Ling Tian's group of 3. The 3 of them lightly smiled and replied one by one. It wasn't long before almost all the students of the Dragon and Phoenix Academy had gathered here, and amongst them was no lack of Z clan members that were following Flute Fairy, Ziyin. The Flame Young Master, Zhang Yin, was chatting passionately with the higher-ups of the Z clan that were by Flute Fairy's side, yet his gaze never left Flute Fairy from the beginning until the end. He's truly in deep love. Duan Ling Tian sighed with emotion. In next to no time, Duan Ling Tian noticed 2 figures that flashed over from the high above in the distant sky. These were 2 old men. One of them was the Dragon and Phoenix Academy's Vice Dean, Qi Ming. As for the other old man, he'd never seen the old man before. He should be one of the 5 great revered elders of the imperial family. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself when he saw Qi Ming chatting and laughing with the old man. Humph! Suddenly, Duan Ling Tian noticed a cold gaze descend onto him. Subsequently, Duan Ling Tian noticed a familiar figure. Zhang Heng, the little prince of Prince Sheng's estate. Presently, a middle-aged man in gorgeous clothes followed by Zhang Heng's side. The middle-aged man had an imposing appearance, and people that wanted to curry favor with him stood all around him. He's Prince Sheng. Luo Rong's voice sounded out by Duan Ling Tian's ear. Duan Ling Tian nodded. It's almost time, Duan Ling Tian muttered, and then his gaze descended into the distance. At that place stood 3 people in black clothes, the members of the Black Fiend sect. Right at this moment, all the members of the Black Fiend sect, including Chai Jin, noticed Duan Ling Tian's gaze. Chai Jing's face sank, and he said a few words to the old man and middle-aged man by his side. These words caused the both of them to reveal surprised expressions. Humph! Duan Ling Tian snorted in a low voice, and coldness appeared in his eyes. Then he brought along the little gold mouse as he walked over in large strides. Duan Ling Tian's actions shocked Chai Jin. What does Duan Ling Tian want to do? Chai Jin asked himself. Although he wished for nothing more than to completely return all the humiliation Duan Ling Tian gave him that day, because of the gap between him and Duan Ling Tian that grew larger and larger, it caused him to practically give up this thought. He knew that he was utterly not on the same level as Duan Ling Tian. Moreover, he noticed that there was actually ghastly, icy coldness flickering within Duan Ling Tian's gaze now. This caused his heart to jump. In next to no time, Chai Jin noticed that Duan Ling Tian's gaze wasn't on him, but was instead on the person by his side. Senior brother, you know Duan Ling Tian? Chai Jin looked at the black-clothed middle-aged man with a hideous appearance by his side, and he asked curiously. The middle-aged man looked at Duan Ling Tian, then shook his head. No, something's not right. Why do I feel that he's coming for you, senior brother? Chai Jin's face went grim. Whereas at this moment, within the world in the eyes of Duan Ling Tian, who walked out in large strides, it seemed as if only the black-clothed middle-aged man remained there. This black-clothed middle-aged man with a hideous appearance was someone Duan Ling Tian was unable to forget in his entire life. 8 years ago, in the misty forest of Aurora City, the person from the Black Fiend sect that had used his formidable, imposing manner to suppress Duan Ling Tian and humiliate Duan Ling Tian was precisely this person. Kid, remembers, you're only an ant before me. If I want to kill you, it's no different than stomping an ant to death. I disdain to kill you. Now, Duan Ling Tian still remembered what this person had said to him on that day. At that moment, it was as if he was able to survive because of that person's disdain. Sun Rue, Duan Ling Tian arrived before the 3 members of the Black Fiend sect, and his gaze stared fixedly at the black-clothed middle-aged man as he spoke slowly. Sun Rue. As soon as Duan Ling Tian finished speaking, Chai Jin's pupils constricted, and he looked at the black-clothed middle-aged man by his side with a bewildered expression. Duan Ling Tian even knows senior brother's name. How can senior brother not know Duan Ling Tian? You know me. Sun Rue frowned as he sized up the violet-clothed young man before him, yet he didn't have any impression. Presently, he'd found out of the identity of the person before him from his junior brother, Chai Jin. Duan Ling Tian. This person was the #1 genius of the former 7-Star Sword sect, and had crushed all the figures that were called the 5 young masters of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. He'd heard of Duan Ling Tian, but he could be certain that he ought to have had no interaction with Duan Ling Tian. Otherwise, it was impossible for him to forget a genius martial artist like this. Duan Ling Tian noticed the confusion in Sun Rue's eyes, and he suddenly started laughing. Right. Before the high and mighty you from before, I was only a lowly ant that could be overlooked. It isn't surprising that you don't remember me. Duan Ling Tian's voice contained slight ridicule mixed within. Duan Ling Tian didn't intentionally suppress his voice, and he'd even faintly spread his voice out with origin energy, causing it to spread throughout the entire drill grounds. Lowly ant. He said that about Duan Ling Tian? When the crowd on the drill grounds heard Duan Ling Tian's words, they were all dumbstruck. In next to no time, everyone recovered from their senses and surrounded them. Luo Rong, Luo Zhan, and Chun Xiao Shui occupied the foremost position and stood behind Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian, what's going on? Luo Zhan frowned, and he looked with hostility towards the 3 people from the Black Fiend sect. It's nothing. I'm just meeting an old friend. Duan Ling Tian shook his head, and a wisp of an evil smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. But no one believed Duan Ling Tian's words at this moment. This is meeting an old friend? It looks more like Duan Ling Tian has gone to denounce his crimes. I've heard my disciple, Chai Jin, mention you before, your Duan Ling Tian. I wonder how his eldest disciple, Sun Rue, has offended you. The old man in black clothes possessed a conspicuous hawk nose, and his voice was hoarse to the point it caused coldness to emerge in one's heart. But Duan Ling Tian instead disregarded the old man and stared at Sun Rue. Duan Ling Tian, my master is talking to you. Don't go too far. When Chai Jin saw Duan Ling Tian disregard his master, he instantly burst into rage. But unfortunately, Duan Ling Tian didn't spare him a glance at all. What exactly do you want to do? Sun Rue's face sank as he glared angrily at Duan Ling Tian. What I want to do? Duan Ling Tian started laughing. A high and mighty void prying stage expert of the Black Fiend sect. What can a lowly ant like me do before a noble person like you? Yet your words are slightly laughable. What do you mean by this? We're complete strangers, so why are you going against me? Sun Rue spoke in a low voice, and his hideous features became slightly savage. Going against you? The smile on Duan Ling Tian's face was instantly withdrawn, and he said with a low voice, You said I'm going against you? Is a person like you worthy of it? Duan Ling Tian practically spoke word by word. Duan Ling Tian suddenly turning hostile was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. All the people present were in an uproar. Duan Ling Tian seemed to be extremely hostile towards this person from the Black Fiend sect. Isn't this the Black Fiend sect elder, Sun Rue? And isn't that old man the Black Fiend sect's supreme elder, Qiu Cheng? This Qiu Cheng seems to also be the master of Sun Rue. When did this members of the Black Fiend sect offend Duan Ling Tian? They're really ignorant. The surrounding crowd discussed animatedly. Whoosh, whoosh. Right at this moment, 2 howls of the wind sounded out from the sky, and it successfully moved the attention of everyone present. It was precisely Qi Ming and the other revered elder of the imperial family. After the people present who knew Qi Ming and the old man greeted them respectfully, they withdrew their gazes and once again looked at Sun Rue and Duan Ling Tian with interest. They were able to perceive that the conflict between Duan Ling Tian and Sun Rue would be triggered at any moment. Qi Ming noticed the atmosphere was off as well, and he asked Duan Ling Tian via voice transmission. Duan Ling Tian, you have a conflict with these members of the Black Fiend sect? Do you need my help? Qi Ming was a revered elder of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's imperial family, and he was in existence at the 6th level of the Void Initiation stage. Presently, his strength was even more shocking after he possessed a Grade 4 spirit weapon, and he could be considered to be the number 2 expert of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's imperial family. The number 1 expert was that 7th level Void Initiation stage expert that rarely showed himself. That expert was also called the number 1 expert in the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. If it wasn't for the imperial family facing a disaster, or perhaps a top expert had arrived at the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, otherwise, that person had already not shown himself for many years. Normally, the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's imperial family was managed by the current emperor and the 5 great revered elders. Qi Ming was one of these 5 revered elders. It's just a small matter, and I won't trouble Vice Dean Qi for it. Duan Ling Tian's voice transmission politely declined Qi Ming's good intentions. Is a person like you worthy of it? Duan Ling Tian's words caused Sun Rue's face to go gloomy, and he said with a low voice, Duan Ling Tian, it's the first time that I've met you. Why are you being so overbearing? The first time? Sun Rue's words caused Duan Ling Tian to be unable to refrain from roaring with laughter. He laughed to the point the surrounding spectators were stunned. Has this Duan Ling Tian gone mad? Many people thought to themselves. Finally, Duan Ling Tian restrained his laughter and cold lights flickered within his eyes as he spoke word by word. High and mighty void prying stage expert of the Black Fiend sect, do you remember 8 years ago, at a forest that is twined in mist all year long at the south of the Crimson Sky Kingdom? Crimson Sky Kingdom? Sun Rue frowned as he thought back into the past. In the end, he recalled it. 8 years ago, he'd indeed gone to the Crimson Sky Kingdom. At that time, He's received the orders of the sect leader to chase and kill the survivor of the boundless sect and seize the key to open the Sword Monarch's treasure. But unfortunately, he'd failed that mission. A forest that's twined in mist all year long. Sun Rue thought back into the past, and for a time, he was unable to recall it. Meanwhile, Duan Ling Tian continued. Do you remember the pair of youth and young girl you encountered in that forest? Do you remember what kind of gaze you used to be disrespectful to that young girl? Do you remember how you used the origin energy at the void prying stage to condense your voice and injure and humiliate that youth? Duan Ling Tian spoke 3 sentences successively. If you've forgotten all this, then do you still remember what you said to that youth? Duan Ling Tian stared at Sun Rue, and his gaze suddenly became fierce. Kid, remember, you're an ant before me. If I want to kill you, it's no different than stomping an ant to death. I disdain to kill you. Duan Ling Tian spoke word for word and slowly spoke out the words that Sun Rue said to him all those years ago. Whoosh. The surrounding crowd of spectators went into an uproar once again. Now, they could be considered to have understood what exactly was going on. So it turned out that this Black Fiend sect Sun Rue had humiliated Duan Ling Tian 8 years ago. Moreover, he'd called Duan Ling Tian an ant and trampled on Duan Ling Tian's pride without restraint. In this world where the strong were respected, to a certain extent, pride was more important than one's life. If one person doesn't even have pride, then that person was as good as dead. Now, they could understand Duan Ling Tian's feelings. 8 years. That was a humiliation that pressed down on Duan Ling Tian's heart for 8 years. How many 8 years can one have in one's life? They could imagine that during these 8 years, Duan Ling Tian would surely be extremely ashamed and resentful every time he thought of this. This Sun Rue is really unfortunate. The seed of disaster that he planted 8 years ago has come to get even with him today. As the saying goes, life is full of ups and downs. Don't bully the young for being weak. The youth from 8 years ago has already grown up now, and he's able to use his strength to refute the humiliation Sun Rue gave him all those years ago. This Sun Rue probably never dreamt that the youth he looked upon as an ant and even disdained to kill all those years ago would be able to grow to such an extent now. The surrounding crowd of spectators let out a wave of emotional sighs, and they all felt that Sun Rue was too lucky. But not everyone was able to bear this luck. You. Sun Rue shuddered when he was reminded by Duan Ling Tian in this way. His pupils constricted when he reacted, and it was as if he'd seen a ghost. You're that violet-clothed youth from all those years ago. Duan Ling Tian didn't answer Sun Rue. His gaze gradually became cold as killing intent flickered within. The humiliation Sun Rue gave him all those years ago was one of the sources of motivation that urged him to cultivate bitterly all these years. He's cultivated bitterly like that because he had the thoughts of looking for Sun Rue and washing away the humiliation from before. Today, he finally had the strength to do it. Sun Rue knew that this was Duan Ling Tian tacitly admitting it, and coldness couldn't help but emerge in his heart. Being reminded step by Duan Ling Tian allowed him to extremely easily recall the scene from all those years ago. At that time, he and another elder of the Black Fiend sect chased after the young sect leader of the Boundless sect into the forest that was twined by mist. In the forest, he'd encountered an extremely beautiful young girl and an arrogant and unyielding youth. At that time, he'd only taken a few extra glances at the youth girl when the youth stood out and blocked before the young girl, and had even blocked his gaze. The actions of the youth infuriated him. He's only casually condensed his origin energy into sound and grunted coldly, and it had injured the youth. As far as he was concerned, a youth from a remote little kingdom was only an ant and was not worth mentioning. At that time, he even disdained to kill the youth, and he'd quickly forgotten that incident. However, never had he imagined that the youth that was like an ant in his eyes, and he'd even disdained to kill all those years ago would actually grow to such an extent now. The monstrous genius that could be said to be unprecedented in the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. If he knew earlier that this day would come, he would absolutely not have let Duan Ling Tian off that day. He could imagine that if he'd killed the youth that day, everything at this moment wouldn't happen. Earlier, he'd acquired a great deal of understanding towards the violet-clothed youth before him, Duanling Tian, from his junior brother, Chai Jin. He knew that Duanling Tian was extremely young, and his cultivation had stepped into the 4th level of the void prying stage. Not only that, that little gold mouse on Duanling Tian's shoulder was even a formidable demon beast that was able to kill a 2nd level void initiation stage expert. He wasn't afraid of Duanling Tian. Even if Duanling Tian had comprehended 2 types of half-step advanced force. As far as he was concerned, it was impossible for Duanling Tian to be a match for him, a 6th level void prying stage martial artist. Whereas what he was afraid of now was instead the little gold mouse by Duanling Tian's side. This little gold mouse was able to kill a 2nd level void initiation stage martial artist. In other words, the strength of the little gold mouse was even on par with his master, the Black Fiend sect's supreme elder. Duanling Tian, what do you want now? Sun Rue took a deep breath and asked in a low voice. What I want? Duanling Tian started laughing. It's naturally to kill you, trample on you, and make you my stepping stone. During these past 8 years, Sun Rue had always been a thorn in his heart. Only by completely removing it by the roots would his resentment of these 8 years dissipate. Duanling Tian's voice was extremely flat, yet the killing intent within it caused a chill to run down one's spine. Many people mourned silently for Sun Rue. Not to mention the network of relationships Duanling Tian possessed, like Crazy Young Master, Luo Zhan, and the background behind Luo Zhan. Just that mouse-type demon beast by Duanling Tian's side was sufficient to crush the entire Black Fiend sect. The Black Fiend sect only had 3 void initiation stage experts, and the strongest of them all was the Black Fiend sect's supreme elder, Qiu Cheng, who stood by Sun Rue's side and was a 2nd level void initiation stage martial artist. Duanling Tian had only just finished speaking when Sun Rue's face went gloomy. Chai Jin's face went gloomy as well, and he said angrily, Duanling Tian, my senior brother spared your life that day, but not only do you not try to repay his kindness, you return kindness with hatred. Spared my life? Return kindness with hatred. Chai Jin's words caused Duanling Tian to be unable to help himself from being stunned, and he couldn't help but start laughing. The surrounding crowd of spectators shot their gazes at Chai Jin, and it was as if they were looking at an idiot. Duanling Tian had clearly spoke of the matter between himself and Sun Rue earlier. It was obviously Sun Rue who'd relied on his formidable strength to use his power to bully Duanling Tian, and after he humiliated Duanling Tian many times, he disdained to kill Duanling Tian. What did this have to do with returning kindness with hatred? Chai Jin. Duanling Tian's fierce gaze stared at Chia Jin as he said with a cold voice. Then I'll break off your limbs for no reason now, and leave you with your life. When you're lying on the bed in the future, would you also be grateful to me? Then thank me for showing mercy today and sparing your life. Duanling Tian asked word by word. Chai Jin instantly felt suffocated, and his face flushed red when he heard this, yet he was at a loss for what to say. If something like that really happened, would he be grateful to Duanling Tian? No. He would only hate Duanling Tian to the bone. When he saw Chai Jin shut up, Duanling Tian's gaze that was covered in killing intent once again descended on his Sun Rue, and it was filled with viciousness. Duanling Tian. Finally, the black-clothed old man by Sun Rue's side, the supreme elder of the Black Fiend sect, Qiu Cheng, spoke out. The incident from all those years is because of the failure of mine as a teacher. I hope that you can give me face and spare my good-for-nothing disciple. Due to the fear of the network of relationships Duanling Tian possessed, and for fear of the terrifying strength of the little gold mouse by Duanling Tian's side, Qiu Cheng had admitted his mistakes. Right when everyone was curious if Duanling Tian would give Qiu Cheng face. Give you face. Duanling Tian sized Qiu Cheng up, and under the gazes of anticipation from the surrounding crowd of spectators, he said slowly, Do I know you? Why should I give you face? Who do you think you are? Duanling Tian's words caused the surrounding crowd of spectators to be stunned. These words are too vicious, right? You. Whereas Qiu Cheng was instead to the point his face flushed red, and his eyes almost stared out of his sockets as his body trembled. As the supreme elder of the Black Fiend sect, an existence at the second level of the Void initiation stage. When had he ever been humiliated like this? Duan Ling Tian, you dare humiliate my master. Chai Jin was an impetuous young man after all, and his figure flashed out to pounce towards Duan Ling Tian. K off. But he hadn't even gotten close to Duan Ling Tian when he was kicked flying by Luo Zhan and crashed onto the ground. You dare touch my disciple? Xiao Cheng's face went grim, and his fierce eyes that shot at Luo Zhan was covered in killing intent. The imposing manner of a Void initiation stage expert swept out to press onto Luo Zhan's body, causing Luo Zhan's face to go grim. Right at this moment, so long as they knew Luo Zhan, the surrounding spectators looked at Xiao Cheng as if they were looking at an idiot. They knew that Xiao Cheng was about to suffer. Was crazy young master, Luo Zhan, someone he could bully? Right at this moment, a cold grunt that was ear-deafening sounded out abruptly, and it shook most of the people present to the point their vital energy and blood roiled. You dare touch my grandson? Subsequently, most of the people present felt a strong wind blow by, blowing to the point their faces ached. Bang! Accompanying an enormous bang, the Black Fiend sect's supreme elder, Xiao Cheng, who was still using his imposing manner to bully others a moment ago, flew out like an arrow that had left the bow and fiercely collided onto a nearby stone steel. Bang! The stone steel broke into pieces, and it was on the verge of collapse. Whereas Xiao Cheng's face was pale like a sheet as he successively spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. After he consumed a healing medicinal pill, he was barely able to stand up. But his body that stood up was still shaky and unsteady. His gaze descended onto the old man in the distance that had attacked him, and there was slight terror in his eyes. You? Who are you? You're not worthy to know my name. The old man glanced at Xiao Cheng in disdain, then turned around and returned to Luo Zhan's side. Luo Rong, you've come as well? Right at this moment, Qi Ming, who stood in the sky, seemed as if he'd discovered a new continent, and he descended at the side of the old man. Luo Rong? As soon as Qi Ming spoke, it caused Xiao Cheng to be completely dumbstruck. Luo Rong, the guild master of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Weapons Craftsman Guild's main guild. Xiao Cheng was greatly shocked in his heart. Subsequently, his gaze descended onto Luo Zhan. That young man is the top-ranked figure amongst the 5 great young masters of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. Crazy young master? Xiao Cheng's face was covered in a bitter expression. If he knew that this was the crazy young master, Luo Zhan, then no matter how brave he was, he wouldn't dare use his imposing manner to bully Luo Zhan. The members of the Black Fiend sect are truly formidable. Yeah, like master, like disciple. I can be considered to have comprehended the essence of these words. The elder offended Duan Ling Tian, the young offended crazy young master, and the old is even more formidable. He directly offended Guild Master Luo. Guild Master Luo is in existence at the 6th level of the Void initiation stage. Supposedly, in terms of strength, he even isn't inferior to any one of the 5 great revered elders of the imperial family. The crowd of surrounding spectators sighed with emotion. When the 3 people from the Black Fiend sect heard this, it caused their expressions to go unsightly. Especially Chia Jing and Xiao Cheng, who were already injured. They were even angered to the point they spat out a mouthful of blood. Duan Ling Tian. When he saw his master being injured, Sun Rue knew that there was nothing his side could do about the situation now. He looked at Duan Ling Tian and said with a cold voice, "You've said repeatedly that you want to kill me. You want to trample on me under your feet, and you want to make me your stepping stone. Do you dare to battle me without drawing on the assistance from the strength of others and prove that you're able to trample on me beneath your feet? If you don't dare, then you're still the ant from all those years ago to me." Sun Rue's words were filled with ridicule. At this moment, all the people present were able to perceive that Sun Rue was prodding Duan Ling Tian into action by means of ridicule. He wanted to enrage Duan Ling Tian, cause Duan Ling Tian to become rash and really intend to fight him by all alone. For a time, the gazes of everyone present descended onto Duan Ling Tian. And Duan Ling Tian started laughing. "Sun Rue, do you think that I don't dare fight you by myself?" "Humph." Sun Rue grunted coldly. "Could it be that you dare?" Since you want me to personally fight you, then I'll fulfill your wish. Little Gold, go to Luo Zhan. Duan Ling Tian had a carefree expression. Sun Rue was wildly delighted when he heard Duan Ling Tian agree. As far as he was concerned, the reason Duan Ling Tian agreed was because Duan Ling Tian didn't know of his cultivation. Otherwise, it was impossible that Duan Ling Tian would agree. He was in existence at the 6th level of the void prying stage. When they saw Duan Ling Tian falling to Sun Rue's prodding, many people shook their heads and sighed. Duan Ling Tian is too rash. Since Sun Rue dares to challenge him, Sun Rue naturally knows of Duan Ling Tian's strength. Exactly. Sun Rue knows of Duan Ling Tian's strength, whereas Duan Ling Tian doesn't know anything about Sun Rue's strength. Duan Ling Tian is probably going to take beating in this battle. Sun Rue is surely confident, and that's why he prodded Duan Ling Tian into fighting him. The surrounding crowd whispered in discussion. Many people shook their heads as they sighed, and they felt that Duan Ling Tian was too rash. Duan Ling Tian. Meanwhile, numerous voice transmissions that were filled with concern entered into Duan Ling Tian's ears. Most of them were persuading Duan Ling Tian, and the owners of these voice transmissions were respectively from Luo Rong, Luo Zhan, Qi Ming, and Qin Shaoshui. As for the content of the voice transmissions, it was none other than saying that he didn't know Sun Rue's cultivation, whereas Sun Rue knew his cultivation, and he was at a disadvantage. Duan Ling Tian snickered in his heart towards this. He didn't know Sun Rue's cultivation? When he glanced at Sun Rue the first time outside the Imperial Palace, he'd relied on his acute spiritual force and the lifetime worth of experience of the Rebirth Martial Emperor to confirm Sun Rue's cultivation. Sun Rue was at the 6th level of the void prying stage. Besides that, because Sun Rue didn't notice in the slightest that he'd used his spiritual force to detect Sun Rue's cultivation, Duan Ling Tian could conclude that Sun Rue wasn't an inscription master. Courting death. When they were worried about Duan Ling Tian, there naturally were people that wished for nothing more than for Duan Ling Tian to be killed by Sun Rue. Like Prince Sheng and his son, Zhang Hong. Now their gazes contained pleasure towards Duan Ling Tian's misfortune mixed within. Senior brother, Duan Ling Tian had once humiliated me many times. Since he's conceded to the point of daring to battle you by himself this time, you must avenge me. After Chai Jin consumed a healing medicinal pill, he hurriedly supported his master, Xiao Cheng, and at the same time, he sent a voice transmission to Sun Rue. Don't worry, junior brother. I'll surely make Duan Ling Tian die a graveless death. Not only can I take revenge for you, I can also get rid of a great calamity. Sun Rue looked at Duan Ling Tian with eyes that were filled with insane killing intent. Duan Ling Tian's natural talent caused him to feel terrified. That weak youth from 8 years ago had already possessed a cultivation that was catching up to him 8 years later. Now he felt slightly fortunate. Fortunate that he'd encountered Duan Ling Tian now. Otherwise, if another few years passed, it would be impossible for him to be a match for Duan Ling Tian. No one had imagined that the genius competition held by the imperial family hadn't even started, yet there would be such a brilliant battle on the drill grounds. Duan Ling Tian versus Sun Rue. One was a peerless genius who had become famous in the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom in the recent years. The other was an elder of the Black Fiend sect. In next to no time, the surrounding crowd of spectators either retreated back or soared into the sky, and they looked from afar at Duan Ling Tian and Sun Rue, who stood in confrontation. This fellow Duan Ling Tian actually disregarded me. Luo Zhan frowned. Earlier, he'd sent a voice transmission to persuade Duan Ling Tian, and it was directly disregarded by Duan Ling Tian. I hope this fellow is really able to defeat Sun Rue. Luo Zhan thought to himself. Squeak, squeak. The little gold mouse stood on Luo Zhan's shoulder, and her pair of jade green eyes looked excitedly at Duan Ling Tian. Big brother Ling Tian, kill him, kill him. The voice of a young girl that was like a devil sounded out by Duan Ling Tian's ears. Duan Ling Tian was able to discern that this was the voice of the little gold mouse. Duan Ling Tian. Sun Rue looked at Duan Ling Tian, and a cold smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. If you have another lifetime, remember to have some brains. I'll send you on your way today. Obviously, Sun Rue felt that Duan Ling Tian had agreed to his challenge because of rashness and because of his prodding. I'll give you the exact same words. Duan Ling Tian had a calm expression as he spoke indifferently.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.